Okay, so this is a three-way conversation, it's a fatal
Three-way
four-way,
dance.
three-way dance, triple threat conversation, Gamph, talking about SummerSlam,
It's the greatest. It's the hottest. It's SummerSlam.
WWE SummerSlam 2018.
SummerSlam, Monday afternoon at 4 on Sky Sports, in association with the video board game Atmosphere.
I guess I should have started it, and now, because I'd hated the guy who did the and now. I wrote it down as now, because it sounded terrible, but we'll get into that.
I don't think I even clocked it on this show.
Yes, on this show, yeah.
No, I
didn't
didn't.
sound right to me.
I was all about Terry Crews by that point, I should think.
Yeah, man. I was going to say, I hope you're not running
That's
down
true.
Terry Crews.
Not at all. No. Terry Crews was great. So, but yeah, that's we have a guest today. Normally it's just Mark and myself, but today our friend Adam is joining us. Who's joined us previously a couple of times to talk about various different things. One time I think before to talk about wrestling. What was it? Night Champions that we did before?
It was TLC, I think.
TLC, that was
No,
it. Yeah.
wasn't it Money in the Bank?
It was Money in the Bank. There we go.
I was about to say, because we were supposed to do Money in the Bank again this year, but as usual, we're months late. So.
Yes. Yeah.
And then also that one Transformers movie that I didn't see.
Yes. And that's the one where I thought I was getting broken into. And
Oh,
so I
yeah,
was
I
just
forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
That seems like a
but
long
yes.
time ago.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. So I think the last time I used Skype was when we had that conversation, and it was July of last year. So
Right, okay.
but it feels like longer ago actually.
Does like Transformers and WWE fall in the same like entertainment circle camp?
John Cena is in the Bumblebee movie, so I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah. I kind of don't want it to, but I think it might.
It's stuff that's on screens.
Yeah.
If that's the category, then yes.
How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
I audibly groaned when the trailer to the Bumblebee movie came on the last time I was at the movies. They just looked terrible.
I think it looks a damn sight better than the last Transformers, and I enjoyed that. So, I mean, but maybe that's me.
But so does my average dump.
One more time?
I said so does my average dump.
Well, I didn't enjoy that, though, surely.
Well,
Although I'm a big fan of your work in the area.
No, but I'm a Gerard. I saw the trailer. I think it was the last one I saw at the cinema. The trailer for Bumblebee came on, and I think half the cinema all reacted the same way. We all just went,
Yeah, no more.
Isn't it both a reboot and a sequel at the same time, though? So you never know. But I think everyone's already
Is it a
given up.
sequel or a prequel?
Well, it's a prequel and a reboot all at once, I think, actually. So it's a sequel, prequel, and reboot.
Oh, that's good, because it needs all that.
Yeah, that's more things in one thing. That'll help. You know, the Michael Bay approach, all the things at once.
That explains why it doesn't match, like because unless I'm remembering incorrectly, it was a few weeks ago. But Bumblebee's a Beetle in this, right?
Yeah, it's set in the 80s, so he hasn't become a Chimera yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
but don't forget they have their weird, they can scan it and become everything thing, which kind of defeats the whole point of a Transformer. But I feel like we're going to have another 2 hours on how terrible Transformers
They're
are.
literally transforming, though. It's okay.
Okay, on to wrestling.
Okay, let's leave it there.
So SummerSlam 2018. Did any of us watch it live?
I
No.
certainly didn't. I finished it 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I finished it 2 hours ago. So
I managed Thursday, I think I've finished watching it on.
okay.
Have you seen any of the TV from this week?
Yes.
So you know some of the fallout as well?
Yeah, both.
Nice.
I have to say both Raw and SmackDown top, really.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
There's some big surprises as well, to be fair.
Oh, you'll have to cue us in as we go along then, because that's
Yeah.
I would like to know because of the things I would have expected to have happened here and whether they've happened after the fact. Because should we just do you want to do a general like enjoyment, or should we just go match by match?
We
can do
Should we go
general
match by match and summarise, or?
Yeah, let's just do that then. Yeah,
Okay, let's do that.
and find out how much.
So, do you want me to do the opening? It opened with Terry Crews, and I had a question about this, probably for Adam more than you, Mark. Is this something that they've been doing?
I'm right here. I'm right here. Come on.
With like celebrities doing like opening videos.
I don't think it's like a standard thing.
Okay.
I know they have a lot of celebrity input. Like they've had spots and doing introductions and one. I can't remember an intro video.
LL Cool J did one, didn't he, for one of the WrestleManias at some point?
Yeah, that's probably when I dropped out of it because of watching it, because it would have been an LL Cool J type period, I think.
No, I think like that in the era when people are like, is that LL Cool J? I haven't seen him in a long time. I feel like this was like last year's WrestleMania or something.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I said there's not many who can do what he did, Terry Crews, I think, without sounding lame.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's true. The man is a thoroughly endearing chap. So yeah, even with his like kind of lame look, sounded like they were written on the spot, shitty rhymes. It was still a charming thing and enjoyable. And I like they kept like a little bit where he said something like "that was cool" at the end, where it felt like he thought they'd stop recording, but they kept it in. And yeah I thought it was fun.
It just feels so damn good.
But LL Cool J was apparently WrestleMania 31.
Oh, okay.
So,
wow.
He did his thing. It reminded me of that, but it felt like a better version of that in an attempt to make SummerSlam more impressive, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
As a kind of like the biggest party of the summer or whatever they used to call it.
Yeah, they still had kind of some of that in the graphical style a little bit. I thought like the color palette and the kind of sunny background, almost kind of like getting into. It looked like the New Day had been put in charge of designing the.
Oh, there's a visual gag happening that no one's ever going to see.
Yeah, look like
I was
the
just
New Day
sitting here
being in charge
thinking,
of
has your podcast evolved visually and I'm unaware?
We did one video one, the Jumanji
We
one.
did.
We've got the whole video up for, but I don't tend to include the video when I edit them. So, but it's basically just trying to make each other corpse because it's more fun this way. Look, he's going. This is amazing. Oh dear. Yeah.
My only other note for the opening is it's been a long time since Battle Dome, but it's nice to see Terry Crews back in the sports entertainment world.
So this came up recently because Jay was on about, do you remember the show we used to watch? And we all used to watch it every week and it was amazing. And it was Battle Dome. And I have no memory of Battle Dome on Channel 5 over here.
Really?
Yeah.
I used to watch it on like Bravo when it was on that in like 1999 or something.
Yeah, 2000-ish, I think. Yeah, because the one I watched on YouTube, the stars of WCW invaded.
I'm going to say in a small voice, what's Battle Dome?
Like Gladiators meets wrestling?
Yeah, that's a really good description of it. Yeah, it was.
I have no memory of it at all.
It would have been.
It was kind of in the height of the Monday Night Wars. They I think TNT said we want to do something more like this, but kind of fuse it with a gladiators type thing, American gladiators type thing. So the gladiators, the Battle Dome Warriors, I don't know what they're called, were more personalities than you would generally find in like a Gladiators show. Whereas, where Wolf was kind of the only one who had a personality in Gladiators, they all had a colorful personality and an entrance, and then they compete in kind of Gladiators style events over ball pits and that sort of shit. So, but there was drama and shit going on in the background, and I think I didn't look this up, but I think Terry Crews' character was T-Money. I think that's what it was
because I watched one, or for something very similar, because I watched one of them on YouTube.
Oh, cool. Nice.
To be like, what the hell is this? Because Jay kept on about there was some twins in there that apparently were like big, I don't know whether they were Playboy or something type ladies at the time.
It was the Dom triplets.
And he was like, we used to watch it, and it was this person. That was them. Three of them, rather, not two.
Jeez, I haven't watched it in so long, but that rings a bell.
How do you and Jay remember this crap?
I don't know. Oh dear.
Right. Okay, so we all like that opening. Basically, was the upshot.
Yeah, that was fun. And then the wind got taken out of my sails because I didn't like the throaty voice and now guy. I didn't think he didn't sound very good. And then we open on an external shot of the Barclays Center.
The Barclays Center. Is that how people genuinely say it over there?
No. I don't think people say it very much over here, though. So
no, I suppose there is that.
I don't want to say it with any kind of certainty. I think Barclays has more of a presence on the East Coast than it does out here, anyway. Okay. So
they'll get you.
Opening match: Dolph Ziggler, who I assumed by his pending appearance at a local comedy club was out of the WWE.
No, he might be leaving soon. I think.
Okay. I didn't write his first name down, but Rollins. Henry Rollins.
Henry Rollins.
But he did take his name from Henry Rollins.
He did.
Oh, he
Yeah,
did?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you credit him, sir.
50-some-odd-year-old Henry Rollins walked down on his bust-ass knees to fight Dolph Ziggler. So I love you, Rollins.
He just
I love
shits
you,
on him.
but yeah, Seth Rollins.
It was interesting. I thought that the first pop. Well, if you ignore the pre-show, because let's be honest, we're all going to ignore the pre-show.
Oh yeah,
we don't
did anyone watch the pre-show? I fucked it off.
No, I saw
that.
was on.
No, okay.
I just saw like on the Wikipedia page on a listing of personnel who were on the pre-show, and they have like a pre-show panel,
okay.
which includes Booker T and Jerry Lawler, and then pre-show correspondence, which includes JBL. So I'm confused by that. Yeah. Is that like a streaming only thing?
No, I think they put it out on. Well, it is streaming only, but I think they put it on like YouTube and they put it everywhere, Facebook and all sorts, to try and get people to sign up for the network.
Gotcha. Okay.
Gotcha. It's been a while since we've had one of those.
It is, yeah. I've been trying to cut down.
Beauty.
Seth Rollins. There it is.
I literally said that already.
Oh, I'm
my
sorry.
pre-show mention was the fact that they decided to open with Ambrose coming out. Because he was the first entrance music, get a big pop from the crowd.
Oh, on the show, you mean, not on the pre-show?
Yeah.
No, on the show, yeah.
Yeah, after, so the first proper show moment. And the thing I found quite interesting about that was that because the whole, like, if you've been watching Raw, they've had this whole thing about McIntyre screwing over Rollins and all of that. So they were building to Ambrose coming into it, but I was kind of expecting them to save it for SummerSlam, but they actually had, at the last Raw, they had Ambrose come out.
I saw pictures from that, because he's obviously got the new haircut and looks mad as fuck all the time for some reason.
Yeah. But I was really surprised at that, because I thought they kind of deprived themselves of a big...
Oh, have him... Right,
moment.
Yeah.
But he still got the big reaction when he came out. And then Seth Rollins came out with his apron on.
Was that meant to be... Okay, so the first two matches I watched last night, and I was in a bit of a haze, basically, so I've not got many notes for these two. But was he meant to be Thanos?
Well, one of the announcers, I think it's the one who's in that one documentary who like busted his neck or something and decided to go and be an announcer.
Oh, okay.
The color commentator guy.
Thingy Graves.
Yeah, that's the one.
William Graves. I don't know. What's his... Peter Graves. What was his name?
Randall Graves.
Corey?
That sounds right.
Graves. That sounds about right.
He said something about the Infinity Gauntlet, but he said that after I wrote the note that was Rollins looked like an Asgardian who spent a little too much time in Midgard, because he really was dressed pretty much like an Asgardian from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's like, oh, I wonder what he likes to watch when he's off, you know.
I liked his inconsistent footwear. Like one was big and gold, one was just like black or whatever. It was just kind of, I get what you're going for, but that didn't really work.
Yeah.
So.
I have to say that I did like Ziggler's inbuilt leather pants IC belt.
Oh yeah, I noticed that actually.
You know, I actually took a note about that because one of my questions for Adam was going to be, does Dolph always keep the belt on? But then I went back and said, oh, it's his tights.
No, that was a SummerSlam special.
It's good of you to admit that, though, Jared. Well done.
I got another one coming. Don't worry.
Tremendous.
Is it a question about whether wrestling is real?
It's still real to me, damn it.
Nice.
Yeah. You'll never be Mick Foley's answer to that, will you?
Oh, what was his answer to that?
I think it was it Live and Kickin' or whatever the Saturday show was at the time? They had a phone in and some kid asked him, is wrestling real? And he just said, it's as real as you want it to be.
Oh, marvellous. Good old Mick.
Nice.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. If you'd got like Bob Holly or someone, it would have just been, don't be so stupid.
Yeah.
Or Giant Haystacks, who just strangled that guy, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And there was another one. I forget who it was. Some mid-card type guy. When there was a guy named John Stossel, who was a long time journalist, asked him that question. He just slapped the shit out of him.
Oh, I remember that, actually. Well, I don't remember. I've seen it.
It's like a blonde mullety guy who never really went anywhere.
Yeah, I think I've seen something about that interview, and he got like legit.
They're like backstage.
Yeah,
he got
and he
really
fired or something after that because he literally unloaded on the guy, and it was not good for anyone.
And he's like berating him. He's like, that was an open-handed slap to the face. You can't accept that. Blah, 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 blah. Like really went for him. But I quite enjoyed the pass off to because they did later in the night. They did a pass off to all of the different languages that it's broadcast in, which was quite fun. But right there and then they did the Spanish, then the Germans. Yeah. And the Spanish guy, there was Jose Estiles, I've called him, because he kind of said SummerSlam. He kind of said like, oh my god moment. It was good.
Yes, I like that. I did not spot that, or I probably did, but I don't remember it last night because I don't remember much of these first two matches. But I did not go and watch them again. So, but I had to see the Terry Crews thing like 5 times because the WWE Network won't resume properly. So I would watch it every time I tried to fast forward back to the point where I was, and then sometimes my remote's play button wouldn't catch it, so I'd have to then do it again.
That's irritating.
Sort your bloody resume thing out, WWE. I'm getting frustrated.
Yeah. Maven.
Maven does tech support for them now. He's just there in a little suit, like a little no suit, but he's got like a shirt, white polo shirt with a WCW logo on it.
The old one, the old wide one.
Yeah, why not? The gang tat one.
Yeah, the gang tat one.
Right, sorry. Right.
That's okay. Because my next note was another like me being an idiot thing. I just said one of these guys sounds like Beaky, and it wasn't until after the New Day match that I realized it actually was him.
He's back.
Yeah, he's back, Coachman.
Yeah, but they were dripping him and the other two out. Sorry, weren't they? They
they go back and forth between Raw and SmackDown, don't they?
Yeah, but Corey Graves must be on both. Is Corey Graves on both SmackDown and Raw, Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say. So it was just Beaky and Percy Watson that were trading in and out, I think.
Okay.
I don't know. Who cares? Who listens? Come on. Although I probably have a lot of commentary notes here. Anyway, I remember the energy of this. Like I say, this is through last night's fever dream where I felt like I've been up for 2 days straight. The match was fine, and then it felt like it was really slow, and then it ended really strong. Is that right?
I get what you mean, right? But I was kind of like, it was almost like without doing the cliche thing of the two halves, it did almost feel like that to me. Like there was a slow build up at the start, but I kind of appreciated it. It still felt like two guys who knew what they were doing.
Okay.
But I thought like the last 5-6 minutes, I thought they absolutely nailed it.
Yeah. Well, they had that weird, like inverted superplex thing. I remember that.
And then roll into the next one and roll into the bomb thing. I just thought I think they're both very good at what they do.
Okay.
And Ziggler's been underused for about a millennia.
Good.
And it was nice to see him given. And to be fair, the stuff they've been doing with him and McIntyre, I think, has been quite decent.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed both of their performances. Actually, I feel like you're right with Ziggler. I think he was kind of given half a character a decade ago and has just been forgotten about almost. He's the Milton of the WWE. They fired him 6 years ago and forgot to stop paying him, and he keeps showing up and that's what it kind of seems like to me. There were some really good spots. There was that one ring to floor suplex that looked like a bit of a botch when I think Ziggler like bounced off the apron. Which didn't look especially good, but other than that, I thought it was really cool. There was a DDT on the apron, which I thought was pretty awesome.
I remember neither of these
I had
things.
A question. Rollins did like a turning super kick thing. Is that his big thing? Because it was kind of lame.
He does the enziguri. He does do that as one of his regular things. There's a couple
the
of them.
enziguri, I thought so, but there was one where he literally just stood backwards from him, turned, and then did a super kick. It wasn't so much an enziguri where it was more athletic. It was literally just kind of like a turn around super kick, and it just didn't unless he did kind of like a corner to corner thing as well.
Yes.
And it just didn't There were a couple of things that I just didn't think worked with Rollins, but that was just me.
I think I know what you mean. Was that when he was supposed to have been distracted by McIntyre, and the other guy was like, "I'm going to get you," and they turned around and was like, "I'm going to get you first."
Yes.
No.
Oh.
That wasn't the moment I was talking about, but that was a good. But that was a good moment, I thought.
Because there was a super kick there, wasn't there? I thought. Because doesn't Dolph do the super kick?
Yeah, they both do.
Oh, okay, that's fine then.
I like the zigzag. That's actually kind of a cool.
That is
cool finisher. Yeah, I like that. The buckle bomb looks painful though.
Yeah, I think he does that slightly differently now because that's what put Sting out forever.
Sting is in
Sting. His last match was with Seth Rollins when Rollins was champ a year or more ago, and then he took one badly, and then they basically were like, "Oh no, your spine is over now, sir. You can go home."
There was a promo video in between some of the one of the pair of matches that I can't remember which ones, but that had Sting in it, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of surprised to see him being focused on that, but I didn't realize he'd been in the company so recently. Honestly, I assumed that he'd been gone for years and years and years.
Can you think how long it's been, Adam? I would say it was the end of 1 year, so it probably wasn't last year, but it might be the end of 2016 that he was around.
I think it was the end of 16.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, it was the Rollins. I think, to be honest, because they had the big Sting versus Triple H as kind of a WWE versus WCW kind of payoff match. But I think, from what I read and from what I understand, I think they actually planned some quite big things with him, and they wanted to do a lot with him, and then obviously crippled, and that was it.
That sucks.
It does suck actually, because that WrestleMania match was a shit show as well. I remember not liking that at all because it sort of just made Triple H look better, as funnily enough a lot of things do. You know? But yeah, because he was the heel in that, and it was just like, I'm going to crush you, and Sting was like, no, you're not, and then he did, and it's just like, well, way to go. You made the bad guy look like, you know.
I do have one note that one of the announcers described it as a picture perfect frog splash, and my note against that is just because it was okay, not great. It wasn't Eddie Guerrero, it wasn't RVD. It was fine. It wasn't great.
Who did a frog splash in this one?
Rollins.
I don't remember that either.
Ziggler got his knees up.
Oh right, okay, nice.
Yeah. It's some of that stuff with the commentary, and they picked it up a couple of times. I mean, some of their recovery stuff, but some of it feels so pre-prepared with the commentary. Like you say, describing it as a picture-perfect frog splash when it did not stand out from anything that was happening in the match. Just felt bizarre. It's like how far in advance were you told you were going to have to describe that? It's just, it is. Well,
there was a similar repetitive kind of string through the Styles Samoa Joe match later on, which I've got a note about. I can't quite remember what it is. It's further down my notes, but yeah, they kept on using a certain phrase, and it's like they've been told to say like variants on that throughout the match, and it didn't feel natural.
Vince is yelling it in their ear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Say picture perfect frog splash. No, damn it!
Well, you're fired.
We'll know next week when a range of picture perfect frog splash t-shirts starts lining up in the.
Ooh, on that
new web show,
that t-shirt thing. Whenever if someone came out wearing a t-shirt, it'd slide in from the side and be like, "Hey, you can get this t-shirt at the WWE shop."
Yeah.
Was new.
WWEshopzone.com. That's what it used to be.
WWF shop zone.
Do you remember all those WWF URLs? WWFtherock.com.
Yeah, I'm rewatching 2001. There's a lot of those.
Of course, yeah.
WWF The Rock SummerSlam 2001.eu.
www.wwf.edgeandchristian.com with dashes in the middle.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Really
with
easy to type.
Yeah. Can we just the CGI nonsense as well? What does anyone make of that? They did it at WrestleMania this year as well, so it's not new.
The AR stuff, where it's kind of hanging in the middle. I actually quite liked it.
It's better than WrestleMania, where the tracking points weren't correct and stuff kept dancing around. Like, do you remember that, Adam? The Asker masks were like, yeah, because they did like whatever camera they were using to push in on it, because it was only on that jib or whatever, wasn't it? But the masks above the thing when she came out was just like. It wasn't. It was not good. But it was better here. And last night I actually thought they built a big thing above the ring. And then I was doing my like that. Is that? Have they built a big old ring? Oh no, it's CGI.
Yeah, the one thing that it did make me think of is I miss pyros.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar's entrance is built for pyro, and he goes.
It really is.
And then nothing happens.
Yeah.
You're like, well, just get to the ring. Come on. Anyway, more on that later.
Inflatable waivers like Bailey's got.
Yeah, they need more physical things and less not. Although I don't mind CG.
The one chap who had the squash later on had like a swirly like Satan cloud.
Yeah,
that was kind of fun.
The weird
the demon fella.
Ghostbusters warp thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's what. It did look like that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I quite like that.
Yeah, that was one of the better ones, and I like the fact that match. No, we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah.
Right. Where are we?
So end of the match was Rollins won, right? New champ.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I'd like you say. I think it finished strong as a match. I think it was a nice opener because they kind of built up to it. And I think that like one of the weird things I was thinking was with Rollins' popularity and with Ziggler's capability, is this match is great, and then the rest of the night is just downhill from here. But it never. I don't think it quite did that. It kind of just set it up nicely, I thought.
I suppose that's what it's meant to do as an opener. It didn't quite work for me, but that's more me than it, I think.
I also I have to mention it isn't specific to SummerSlam, but Drew McIntyre's ring attire does trouble me greatly.
Is it the big, weird, long vest thing?
Yeah, because you kind of wear that if you're cold, but he's only got pants on. Like, as in underpants, as in wrestling pants, not as
trunks,
in trousers. Trunks,
Yeah.
yes, that is the word. So I think the whole combo just strikes me as very odd.
I wish he was just wearing underpants. Just comes out in that, and it's like, oh yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah, it's just kind of like how you look if if the mailman rings and you've not been paying attention, you've just got your dressing gown and your pants on. That hasn't happened to me before. I'm just imagining.
I think it has.
Yeah.
You're speaking from experience, sir.
Well, sorry, it wasn't at home; it was at work.
Right. If I could count a penny for every time I'd been caught in my ring attire.
This is about Drew McIntyre's pants. It is not about me and my. I'm not going to tell you what underwear I wear. We don't need to know.
Tidy whities. Okay.
Do you think that? So I was surprised to see blood in this match, and I have been watching for quite some time. So I know that at least Mark, I think you mentioned that they're kind of moving a bit away from the PG-13 slightly, maybe. I don't know.
Seem to have been pushing the boundaries of what it means just a touch more here and there, but very clearly they wanted to get that blood off him because the white guy went for gloves, didn't he? Quite quickly.
Yeah. Because my note is blood and then but rubber gloves though. I mean, and I understand in this era it's probably the responsible thing to do, but if it was purposeful, then it was kind of lame as a bit. But I don't think it was, quite frankly.
I don't remember a lot of this match, but I remember thinking, where did that even happen? Because it was somewhere side of his head. Like, did he? Any idea where he caught himself? But I don't think it was intentional.
No, I didn't. I think you saw a clear difference with the Charles and Samoa Joe. The blood bit in that, felt like it was wanted and fit in. I think that was different.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think that was probably accidental. He was just like, let's just get the match over with or whatever.
So we came out of that match into an Evolution promo, I think, where they talked about the WWE Evolution, which is the upcoming pay-per-view that is women only.
Yeah. Oh, was this the segment with the Bellas backstage?
The Bella twins.
Yeah, that was like a weird fever dream where I was just like, I'm going to bed. This is dog shit.
Yeah. They're deeply dull, in my opinion.
It felt like they just kept going on. Oh.
Yeah, it did. It went on.
I think if the guess is right, and I'm not alone in thinking this, I think they're building up to Nikki Bella, Ronda Rousey.
Oh, interesting. I wondered about that later on, but okay. That's a horrible idea, though.
I know, but they're full of horrible ideas.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to that show, and now you've just. Ugh. Oh, there's so many better matches they could do than that. Oh dear.
Right. Yeah, they're going to just do a do-over of the Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch kind of like we're best friends thing, because like Ronda, the Bellas were there supporting Rousey.
I wondered whether one of them was about to kick her in the womb. I have to admit, that's what I was going to say. Like it looked like that was about to turn because it was a bit too much. I was like, okay, we're going to have a turn, but it never happened.
It's like they've got no pre-existing relationship. There was no reason for them to be hugging. It was just like, hey, let's hug. Yeah. And then no shot to the baby maker or any other thing. It was just kind of like, oh. There's a few moments like that actually in the night that I watched and thought, oh, all right.
Yeah, I actually, thinking about it, the Dean Ambrose, I wondered whether he was going to turn on him because he just looked angry as fuck for that entire match. And I was like, oh, is he going to be like, I just want to fight or whatever? Now he's back.
Yeah, but again, all of the rumor online is that he will be having a heel turn. It's just when it happens. But then what happened in Raw might kind of lead to that. Okay,
let's carry on and we'll come back to it, I guess, because...
Sure.
Do you want to do it now, or does it involve a third person, like I assume
it involves many people, so we'll come back to it.
Ooh,
okay.
Yeah, I've built that up more than it deserves. But I like to disappoint. No.
Boo!
He's got the body for it.
Yes, he has.
Stop going on about Terry Crews's body.
Look, I just want to talk about it.
It's like one of your top 3 things. Keep having to cut bits. Oh, folks, when he's talking about it on here, I cut it. All right? It's all the time. You wouldn't believe it. The comparison to The Rock on the Jumanji episode.
I mean, come on, look at him.
I'm quite happy with you doing it, Gerard. I mean, I've recently binged on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I've got a lot of love for the man.
I agree. He's great. Okay, next match.
I also think he's great. Don't don't make me the bad guy here. I know what you're doing, Adam.
I was going to try and make you into a racist then, but I decided against it.
Come on. Everybody loves Terry Crews. I just wish he wouldn't go on about his body as much.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yes, you were right, Gerard, to move on to the next match, which was the Bludgeon Brothers.
It was I completely got their name wrong.
What'd you call them?
I thought it was Gludgeon.
What?
With a G, Gludgeon Brothers.
Oh, I was hoping. I
swear that's what it said on the graphic.
On the well, if you don't even know how to spell graphic. I was hoping you were going to say the Luncheon Brothers then, and you thought it was some sort of meal team.
They're like a lunch club.
Nice, the Luncheon Brothers.
Yeah, the New Day versus the Bludgeon Brothers, I guess. Yeah, I still quite like the New Day, but I think last time we spoke about this, I think both or one of you was saying that they kind of feel like a bit of a tired act now. Because I don't watch very much, they still seem kind of pretty entertaining to me. With the pancakes and all that stuff, and the audience participation. What is the general feeling about the New Day right now?
I think there are a lot who do feel that they are a little worn out by now. But I mean, I know there's been a lot of the reaction to their feud with the Bludgeon Brothers has been frustration that they're still being pushed as hard as they are. Well, unfortunately, that's probably true of the Bludgeon Brothers as well. But I think the truth is that as a set, Xavier Woods and Big E especially are genuinely very entertaining, and they can give you gold. So that's
agreed.
It's difficult because they do what they do very well, and they do still seem to get the crowd reaction. So, but yeah. In terms of the one thing I would say is like Xavier Woods. For some reason, in the back of my head, I always have that he's the weak part of the trio. But then, time after time, he just keeps proving that that's not right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, but it's difficult when you put him like Kofi was a proven single. Big E has got so much of an upside when you think about him. So it kind of makes sense that he naturally falls into third place. But that's still rarefied air, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and at least they've got some personality, whereas the Bludgeons seem kind of nothingy to me.
Lunch.
You know, they've got their weird weird masks that they use when they come out to the ring and stuff, and they just seem kind of like death metal hillbillies, which is just boring.
It's frustrating, really, because they kind of. I remember when I started getting back into it a couple of years back. I remember having a chat with Mark and saying how much I like the Wyatt family. Just as a gimmick, I liked that kind of hillbilly, because when they had the two of them, Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt, as the four, it was a nice gimmick. And with the Bludgeon Brothers, it's kind of like they've half-assed that part of the gimmick, but they've tried to keep it going with the two least charismatic elements of it, and it just doesn't work. I mean, I actually like Luke Harper a lot. Eric Rowan, I think he's just too uncharismatic, personally. I mean, the only thing he seems to do is grunt and stroke his beard in a maniacal way, and that's his only shtick. Yes, like that, Mark, but he has much more. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. He seems to be I think Luke Harper has suffered slightly for having to bear Eric Rowan, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, they haven't got anything for him to do on his own, whereas I think Luke Harper, because he did it for a while, didn't he, with his greasy vest and everything. He could be a weird kind of outsider trailer park wrestler guy. But instead it's like, let's put him back together with that other guy who used to stand next to him and give him mallets and make him like weird, dodgy metal Thor.
Yeah.
That said, I don't remember this match, so what happened?
Well, it kind of opened up with a double team, and my note for it is crucifix bomb religious iconography.
Nice.
Call back to Raven.
Yeah.
And it seemed like they kind of wanted to do the whole, well, they're kind of undefeatable type thing. And yeah, I didn't buy it, but it didn't seem like the audience did either, so I didn't think I was missing out on anything by not being current.
No,
it seemed...
You're right. I think the only thing I would say on that is that they have really hyped up just how unbeatable they are. So they've had them sort of on the weekly shows, they've had them turning up and just tearing all the other teams apart. So I thought one of the big themes was the fact that the New Day actually gave them a fight, and they actually did more to them than anyone else has done. And then Xavier Woods doing his flying elbow off the outside of the mat towards the end. Was that like... Well, they had a DQ finish, which I always think is crap. I hate them.
Oh, yeah. The one of them used the mallet or whatever.
DQ.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
See,
I forgot about it.
You're right. That elbow to the floor, though, it looked legitimately painful, but it was really good.
Yeah, but it was kind of like I liked that. I mean, the note I actually made, like, I make much notes because I am much less notes because I am terribly disorganized. But the one thing is, I felt that it felt like on time, if that makes sense. It felt like someone had said to them, "You've got 10 minutes," and they went, "Right, we're doing this." Because I think it was 9.5 minutes I clocked it at, and they fit. And that was a theme I actually felt throughout the night, that they actually kept it quite tight in a lot of ways, and they pushed where they could push. And I thought they did everything they needed to do. They told the story they needed to tell, and I didn't lose patience with it. And I was kind of like, yeah, I enjoyed it. A decent enough match.
Wikipedia says 9:45, and none of the longest match was the Miz and Baron Corbin. Miz and Daniel Bryan, sorry.
Yeah.
And which was 23 minutes.
Okay.
What was the style Samoa come out?
22:45, so about the same.
Those were the two long ones.
Yeah, the opening match was pretty long too. It was 22, so
yeah,
felt it.
Yeah.
Adam, in your point of view, was there a better match to be had from SmackDown? Because I know the Usos are still on SmackDown, but I don't really watch the weeklies, so...
I think the trouble is, because the Bludgeon Brothers are the holding
They've
champions,
kind of gone through everyone on TV, have they?
Because, to be fair, the Usos and the New Day were doing brilliant stuff. Like, they were on those 2 or 3 pay-per-views back, they were on the undercard.
I remember.
And everyone was saying their match was the best match of the whole night, and they were on the pre-show. But the Usos and the New Day do great things when they're put together.
But they did it like 7 or 8 times in a row, didn't they? Because I remember they were still good, but I was just burnt out on seeing them together.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think it's difficult to know then what to do. Because, I mean, even, to be honest, as a whole, they are struggling at the moment. For whatever reason, that it's just not getting it right. I mean, they've got Gallows and Anderson over on SmackDown now. But,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but they're being oddly, totally misused at the moment as well.
WWE have a history of this, even at the height of the tag team division, in my perspective, in like the early 2000s when you had Edge and Christian, Hardy Boys, Dudley Brothers type people.
Dudley
it felt
Brothers?
like Dudley Brothers.
Were they ever called the Dudley Brothers? Boys.
Dudley Boys.
The Dudley Brothers.
Dudley Brothers. I'm a wrestling fan. There were still missteps, and there was still people who felt kind of wasted. I can't think of a specific example right now, but I remember thinking at the time, so they've got a bit of a history of that sort of thing where people, where good tag teams have kind of been put to waste, and I wonder how much politics is behind it, to be honest with you.
I can think of
it's about people being in favour.
That era, and that would be the Acolytes, the Acolyte Protection Agency. You think about it, JBL went on to be the heavyweight champion and went on to be one of their main draws for years. But
true.
I always used to love the APA, Farouk's catchphrasey stuff and damn. But I think you're right. I think the tag teams, I don't know what it is, they just don't get it right. They never get it right.
They seem to have brief moments of genius, like thinking about that time, because the Dudley Brothers and Hardy chaps and Christian and Edge did fabulous things together, but it was brief. So yeah, I think you're right.
X-Pac and Kane is the only one I can think of, but that's because no one gives a shit.
Like they brought Daniel Bryan back for like 2 matches, I think.
Yeah, Team Hell No or whatever.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, okay, they're bringing him back. And then it was like, hang on, Glenn Jacobs is being like a mayor, isn't he? So how the hell is that going to work? And then he wins and he's the mayor now, but he's still Kane, and I don't. And then that's gone away again. So it's all weird.
I should think that was just kind of like nostalgia, time wasting to get to something like the Miz match.
Yeah.
Like, what do we do with him? Let's just give people the greatest hits. Yeah, everybody loves this thing. He'll say yes. Yeah, whatever. So they just, I think they did that at least one too many times. They should have just done it the once, I think. But I guess people liked it, and then people were instantly sick of it. You've no idea what we're talking about, I mean. No.
I saw in the Daniel Bryan stuff later on, rather in the pay-per-view, I saw a little shot of him and standing next to Kane with the weird half mask, and assumed they must have done a rock and sock type thing.
Yeah, they were both. Well, actually, Kane was probably face, but Daniel Bryan was a heel, and they did a team called Team Hell No. And they would just. It was when Daniel Bryan's yes thing had become no, because when he turned, it was like no, So it was fun for a while, and then they did comedy skits where they sent them to couples therapy and ruined it.
Okay, so that was the New Day versus the Bludgeon Brothers, which I'm going to call them from now on. And what do we have anything in between? I don't think I have anything.
That was where I threw up my hands last night and went to
bed. Total Divas. There was a trailer for Total Divas, which looks absolutely vile. Do you disagree?
No, you know what? You've just reminded me though. I did watch that trailer last night, and I think this was the decider on going to bed. I was watching it, and I was probably like this, and thinking, and literally thought to myself, that feels like a show I could get into.
Love Island's over now.
Yeah, and then I was just kind of like, go to bed, Mark, and that's what I did. So, and the next match, which was Owens versus Strowman, was like a complete reawakening. It was like the show started again. So I had all that energy of what I think I was supposed to have from the first match, But I from here on in, I kind of was like, yeah, not.
Yeah. This time I'm gonna let it all come out. It was a squash.
Yeah, I like the squash, but it was so much like Owens just took such a beating.
But he did it so well.
Yeah, the way he can take a shoulder tackle and like 360 is just amazing.
The one thing, I mean, I have an issue with the squash as a general, which we'll come to in a second. But the one thing in the build-up to the squash, which I didn't like, was how Braun just took the absolute no-hit with the super kick.
Oh, I like that.
It just the way Braun kind of looked away, then looked back at him. To me, there's just, I have an issue with this, which I'll come back to with Ronda Rousey as well. One of the big mistakes that they make with people like Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman is they make them too much.
Oh, okay.
And then what do you do with it creatively, and where do you go with the fights when you've got guys who can take a super kick to the face and just be like,
yeah,
what? No,
create these like top level unstoppable machines, and then suddenly no one believes in anyone else because no one can topple them, and you're fucked. You know. Yeah.
And it was kind of like for him, like if he'd stumbled back and then roared back into him and destroyed him, I wouldn't have even noticed it. But it's the fact that he took one of Kevin Owens' big moves and didn't even react to it. Like
he just completely no-sold it. I agree. If a quick recovery is different, like a quick turnaround, where like shakes it off like a stunned bear who's been smacked in the face by I don't know a moose hoof. Bear. But that's exactly, yeah. You know what I'm saying? He's got like spit and salmon guts on his face. That's fine. But you're right. No selling a super kick. It just completely delegitimizes everyone else. And I just imagine HBK throwing popcorn at the TV.
I with the Braun Strowman thing, it made me laugh at the time, and I was just like, ah! So I was okay with it. But you're right. You're all both very, very right. We're into territory where they're kind of dangerously undervaluing other top guys to the expense of one guy, I suppose.
Yeah, but I agree with you that I liked the squash because I actually liked, because especially with the build-up with Owens, it's kind of like Owens has been building it up as he'd got all these conditions and stipulations on the match that he could get Strowman through this or this or this. So you were expecting a crafty masterclass from him.
Okay.
So for the way they handled it, I thought, yeah, okay, I'm down. And then watching it, I was genuinely, okay. I was not expecting this. When Strowman actually picked him up for the power slam, right up to that point, I was thinking, where's it going? What's he going to do? What's Owens doing? And then it was kind of like, oh, shit.
I agree. The opening video package kind of led me to think that had been the case. I wasn't super invested because I haven't been watching the TV, but I think the fact that he got him like counted out and disqualified from a few matches in the run up, when I guess the Strowman guy's thing is kind of he's like Animal Goldberg type guy, undefeatable type thing. That seemed to be kind of an interesting angle, but I tend to find squash as a big letdown. So if I'd been more invested in it, I might have enjoyed it more. But it was I was a little bit like, oh, squash, really?
Well, I have to say both of the squashes really worked for me for different reasons, but.
I would agree on this, and for me, this was the first match of the night. So I was just like, yeah, yeah. So and he took those shoulder tackles, and I was just kind of like, fuck.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I was amazed by that, and it really showcased how good Kevin Owens is without costing Braun Strowman how little he can do in a way.
Mm.
So it built both of them somehow for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. It kind of, because Owens, you always think like, without beating around the bush, Kevin Owens should be in virtually everyone's top 3 or 5 wrestlers. He's so good. He's so convincing. He's so good at what he does. And you kind of, with something like that, the worry is that he'll start getting pissed off, or he's not getting. They do need to do more with him, but at least it was done in a way that you could still appreciate him for what he is.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, that choke slam on the ramp, if it was a choke slam, I can't
remember. That looked painful.
Man, that looked painful. Yeah, that was really painful.
Yeah. Well, for that,
there's no padding out there
from the crowd.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, okay, fair enough. That deserved that.
What chant did they do?
Sure.
Holy shit!
Holy shit! Yeah.
I don't remember that, but yeah. Okay,
and
cool.
then we went into the SmackDown Women's Champ match, which was Carmella, Becky Lynch. Carmella, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair. Who is the GM of Raw? Who is Paige?
Paige, she was a performer for a while, but I think her back went or something, so she was kind of retired in an Edge style fashion. So she was one of the first of this era of women not divas, maybe 4 years ago, and and then she kind of had to retire. She had some neck surgery. She came back 2 matches and she was retired. It was just there was no bouncing back from whatever the neck spine thing was she had.
Yeah, it was quite weird because she was like when they're talking about all the evolution stuff, she was seen as being one of the big ones, and they made this whole what is it, My Family, that film thing.
Oh yeah, she's got a film coming out with The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock's company's producing. It's all about a film about how she got into wrestling and all the rest of it. But it was quite weird because she's. I assume she's not anymore, but she was going out with Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, that seemed like a poisonous, abusive relationship.
Yeah,
it's
but
over
that was
now.
causing all kinds of problems for the company, I think, because he left WWE and went to TNA and was doing it. Was it Impact? Can't remember whichever, but he went off.
It's all the same. No one cares. No one's watching it.
He went off and did all that
CFW.
stuff. It kind of felt like she was in an awkward position, but then she came back, and then it was like, yeah, she lasted 2 matches and she was done.
Yeah, it was a shame because it did seem like they'd split and she was back to... Because I think they drank a lot. Like, if you saw any of the videos and stuff they released, like, Alberto Del Rio would just be on fucking Periscope being like, I'll fight Triple H, you know. And,
Right.
yeah, it just seemed like it was a horrible, poisonous relationship of a thing, based on what you saw on the internet. And
Okay.
that ended, she came back and it was like, she's got the movie, she's got the thing, she's going to be all right. And then... But her family is the World Association Wrestling, I think now, up in Norfolk. So they've got quite a heritage here. And they did a Channel 4 documentary a couple of years ago, and essentially the Channel 4 documentary is the basis for this film.
Okay, cool.
I
mean, I figured the reason I asked the question is because I figured that she seemed like not just another talking head type person who they sometimes put in those backstage positions. Yeah. I figured there must be some history behind it, but I've just missed it. So
if you
that's
sorry.
No, it's just cool that she's stuck around even post injury. They must see something in her.
I think they have her under a very long term contract and they want to do something with her.
All right.
Basically, if you get injured and you're retired, you become SmackDown GM. Daniel Bryan did it.
Okay.
She's doing it.
Yeah.
If Edge was still around.
Foley did it in 2001.
Foley
was good. He was semi-retired at that point. Foley is good. That's true.
Little joke for you.
I guess you said it was like it's been about 4 years, which again shows my ignorance and how long I've been out of it. But I did make a note of the I think it was Becky Lynch said, or maybe it was Charlotte Flair said, "You're a diva living in a women's era." Yeah, which was kind of interesting, and feels like they're trying to.
I wrote that down.
Shrug off the misogyny of the past a little bit and move forward. Yeah. And then the whole evolution thing and some of the stuff, the clips of Stephanie and those sorts of things seem to confirm that. So, positive direction for the WWE, I think.
Agreed.
Hopefully.
I like the nod. I wrote that down too. The diva nod in the video is almost like they're kind of they're not embracing it, obviously, but they're kind of like they're not. And it wasn't kind of a negative. It was just showing the contrast, I think, and it showed now that it's almost come full circle that you can have that diva-ish character in Carmella, and I like Carmella. I think she's actually pretty good. She's not necessarily the most athletic in ring, but there's still space to have that over the top character, not performer type thing, and she does it quite well. And and so because of that, it was kind of like that nod. Actually, it's like, oh yeah, you can still have that segment, but it doesn't have to be the whole division.
Sure.
And I kind of dig it for that. But she isn't the best in ring worker, but she can talk, and she knows what that character is. That weird sort of action figure character.
See, my big note from this match is the big note I've got for the whole match was Carmella's in-ring work. I actually thought she did really well.
Oh, she did on this one, but yeah, we've both seen her do shit in the past. But
Yeah,
in this, she
I mean,
was bringing it against those two.
Because I actually thought of the three of them, I mean, I found the whole dynamic really interesting because and obviously with the way it ended and what happened afterwards, the whole thing that, you know, Becky Lynch worked her way up through the independents and through all the, you know, through the hard work, so she knows it inside out, and then Charlotte's kind of gifted into it through her dad, and then Carmella's this, like you said, like the diva personality. But I actually thought out of all of it, it was Charlotte was the one I thought there was a couple of spots from her that fell short or looked a little bit sloppy, and she's normally quite tight, and I actually thought it was quite poor from her. And Carmella, maybe because of that, she actually came out of it smelling the roses, I thought.
Yeah, no, the bit on the ropes where she was using the ropes to her advantage, and she sort of climbed up the ropes and her feet were on the top rope pointing down. I thought that was amazing.
The only exception to Charlotte Flair, I would say, in being sloppy, well, not necessarily sloppy, but just not on form, was her twisty moonplex thing outside of the ring. I thought it looked great. I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I actually made a note. I made a note that was my least favourite part. Not
really?
Because of the moonsault, but because if you watched Lynch and Carmella, they were just hanging around waiting for her to do it.
Well, they always are.
That's true.
That kind of thing really gets on my tits with the matches when you actually see them. It's like sometimes when you see them setting up a big suicide dive and they manage to congregate 20 people in one spot.
Yeah, just to catch
and they're all just standing around going, "Oh, we'll catch you." It's just
they always do it more artistically than ECW used to do.
That's true. They just let them fall. They're fine. It's concrete. It's nice, soft, forgiving concrete in ECW. This one though, it's almost like they weren't there because she almost landed on her feet, didn't she? I think
she did kind of land on her feet. She ever rotated, yeah.
Yeah. Well, all of hers look like that because she's quite tall, and I'm not sure she can quite get the height. And they always look like, I feel like one day her knees are just gonna, you know.
Yeah, fair enough. Maybe I just thought it looked cool because I hadn't seen her do it before. So.
Yeah, I mean it does look cool, but it looks better. Sometimes they shoot it from quite far away, and you just see her kind of off the ring doing that. And it looks better like that than close up. It just kind of always looks ugly to me close up. And I always worry about it. It's like Big E's shoulder barge thing, which I don't know whether he did in this match. But I always feel like he's just going to land and break his shoulder.
No, Big E was kind of not really a part of much of it anyway, was he? He was kind of in and out. But
I don't remember.
he's
very tired.
Injured, I think he's done his ribs.
Oh, right, okay. Is he actually? So he's actually injured at the moment?
I don't know if it's kayfabe or if it's real or if it's
right.
I have no idea. I don't know. They did a great joke on it on SmackDown where they said, "How's your ribs?" and he said, "Great," and he was actually eating some ribs, yeah,
beautiful.
It was actually done very nicely. But,
just they slowly come in out of shot.
Yeah,
nice. I love it. What have I got? What else? What notes have I got for this one? Oh, the bit where she pulled the hair and then Charlotte was behind her and she just turned around and was like, "Really?" I love that. I thought that was great.
Yeah,
that was fun.
I said she was an action figure, but I've actually written human Snapchat filter Carmella.
That's a good description.
Yeah, I think that it's it's character first kind of stuff, and I kind of dig that.
Yeah.
So, I really enjoyed it. Has anybody got anything else to say?
No, just after the end of the match, I thought it was a pretty decent match, but end of the match kind of felt like maybe there was a heel turn in the works for Lynch because she seems very much of a face right now.
Actually, I wondered whether Charlotte had turned on her because obviously she pinned her first.
Yeah.
She pinned her and won and everything, and you're just like, was that a heel? What the hell just happened there? And then they're hugging, and she's doing the cover in her mouth because they are legit best friends. And they're like, it must have been like, "I'm gonna turn on you now, fuck you." And then that seemed like a heel turn for Becky. Was that followed up on SmackDown?
Yeah,
she's a heel
turn.
Nice.
It's a heel turn for Lynch. But I mean, I found it interesting because I don't know if you picked up, but there was one point where like the crowd seemed completely behind Lynch.
Oh, they really
and
did.
There was a point where they started booing Flair.
Yeah,
It wasn't
once she'd
major,
won.
but there was a point where they started doing it, and it was because
I had a question
they
about
wanted
that.
to win.
Is Flair a heel?
No.
She's best cast as a
okay.
heel. She makes a better heel than she does a babyface.
Yeah. But
Okay.
I think the thing was, this was well, obviously it wasn't booked as, but it was played as a Carmella versus Becky Lynch for weeks, and then at the last minute, Flair got it.
Yeah, the video
changed,
package.
which
Yeah,
kicked into
clued me in on that. Yeah.
that thing. So it worked. I think it actually worked with the heel turn. Like the narrative fit that Lynch has done all that work to finally get a shot, and then her best mate just nicked in there.
It's
So I
very
think
much a swerve, though, from what people expected, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Which is a
Russo!
good thing sometimes. Russo. I did notice that Flair, when she was sitting at the other side of the SmackDown announce table, real tears, or at least she produced. They weren't. It wasn't sweat or like eye drops.
She's a Flair.
Yeah.
And
Rick would cry walking to the ring.
good point. Good point.
He would cry at the anything. It's like
watch the last 6 months of Nitros. Actually, every one of them seemed to open with him getting more and more worked up, sweaty, and tearful.
Yeah, it's all
good point.
One of my top 3 things he does is like elbow drop his own jacket, cry, and bleed. Ric Flair. The crowd being against her, that was amazing, because when Becky was beating up Carmella outside the ring, they started chanting "Do it." After she'd hit her once or twice, they were like, "Do it, do it, do it." And then when she was down and crying, and Becky was walking off, they started chanting "You deserve it."
Yes.
To Flair.
To Flair.
Yeah.
But it's a New York crowd,
Wow.
isn't it? Of course, they're going to be all
that's true.
You know.
Irish. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the Irish thing, but they're definitely going to be against what WWE would want them to be doing.
True.
they're
And there was a few examples of that later on in the night. I don't know if you noticed.
I probably have them.
Yeah, particularly in the next match.
Yes.
I will see.
Oh yeah, there's definitely one thing in there that will have made Vince very angry.
Oh,
What,
so
the TNA chance?
The TNA
yeah,
chant,
that's
yeah.
exactly it. Yeah.
I did enjoy that. So
Yeah.
shall we go on to that now? Or you got
Yeah,
one?
let's go on to the next match. Next match was I almost said Joey Styles, AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. For me, my first comment was, "Fuck me, it's a TNA match from 10 years ago."
I have that from 10 years ago on Bravo on a Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it would have been one of their pay-per-views that lasted like 9 years with adverts.
It would have been, yeah, like Bound for Glory or something.
I had exactly the same reaction. Like when the TNA chants came, I just started laughing out loud.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, at first I thought I was mishearing it. I thought I was mishearing like an AJ chant. And then I listened a little bit closer and was like, oh, no, never mind.
That is not what it is.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's not the first time that sort of things happened. Back in the day, before the ECW purchase, you get ECW chants particularly in New York or Philly when people who'd come over would wrestle one another. So, there's form for it. So interestingly, I watched this on my Comcast Xfinity streaming thing. You watched it on the network. They didn't cut it out on the network or anything.
No, I should think we got the same. Well, did you watch it? How did you watch it? Through
Comcast on demand. It was free, so I watched it.
Oh
through
shit!
that.
So
Yeah.
right. So you didn't. I wonder if that is just the network feed underneath it or something, or whether it's more like a pay-per-view stream or something. Interesting. Well, random. How did you watch it, Adam? Did you just download it?
I watched it through entirely legal means.
Of course. Okay, moving on. What were we saying?
I was just curious to see if there was a difference between the network version and what I would assume would be just a recording of the TV version.
There is one significant thing later on that was silenced, and if it was silenced,
Lesnar.
yeah,
Yeah, for me,
well. Then it's the same stream. I should think it's all coming off WWE's servers.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Okay.
Apart from Adams, maybe.
So the setup for this reminded me very much of
TNA! Turning Point,
Sarah
2007.
stuff, actually.
What's that, sorry?
No, it reminded me of the Take a DDP Sarah stuff.
Oh, okay.
Because Joe's messing with his family and stuff, and those really shitty pictures of AJ as the a family man sitting on the grass under a tree, and it just kind of reminded me a lot of that stuff where it's like he's messing with his mind, he's going too far, kind of stuff. But that all being said, I'm still not really a Samoa Joe fan.
Oh, okay. He's a hell of a talker, though. You can't deny that.
He is a hell of a talker. I'm not a big fan of his in-ring work.
I just liked I liked the way he did it, that whole daddy thing. Just the fact he instantly got the whole crowd chanting, "Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy?" That was good. Once I figured out what that chant was, I was
Yeah, but it's I think in a weird way, it's like my note on the match as it was that it was exactly what I expected. In that they're both. I thought they both did good. There was some nice combination stuff. I like some of the submission kick out and rolls into other bits. But to be honest, there's nothing there until obviously the flip at the end that was really a draw. I don't think it was just a decent match from two good professionals.
Yeah,
is that the bit where AJ started to do his? I don't know what his signature move is, but that one where. The Styles Clash, where he didn't get the second arm hooked because he realized this guy's too heavy. I'm going to drop him. I gotta go.
Just go.
And he smashed his mouth. I think when he did it, he had a bit of a bloody mouth.
He's broken people's neck with that move. Or well, no, he hasn't by rights. People's necks have been broken doing that move because if you don't sort of tuck your head back, I think. So when AJ first left TNA, he was doing indie matches with stars at the time. And it was almost just like a roster of broken necks that happened at shows. And it's just like,
damn.
I thought he was going to stop doing it for a while, but it was literally a case of he went to Japan and worked with, 10-year pros, and it was just fine again. It was like randomly working with either new people or people who didn't know how to take it, and just bad things happened for a bit.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, Jericho talked about it. Apparently Vince McMahon was of a view he didn't want it happening. And apparently Jericho stepped in at the time and said, he was one of the first who had a match with him and said, I want you to do it. I want you to do the Styles Clash. And I want to show Vince that it can be done.
Okay. It can be done safely. Fair enough.
Being Jericho.
Good for him, though, because the WWE and F actually has form for kind of overreacting to that sort of stuff, understandably, because it could probably cost them a lot of money if they ended up on the wrong end of a lawsuit. But for years, we didn't see any kind of pile driver. Because of Austin. Even then, American Badass era Taker did not do the tombstone.
It's true, he didn't. You're right.
It wasn't. I think when maybe his Big Evil he did, but it could have been when he reclaimed the old Taker gimmick that they started doing it again. So I'm kind of glad that Jericho had the balls to step up and do that. But I suppose he doesn't really need it. He can go touring with his band whenever he wants and be perfectly happy.
He's wrestling for New Japan at the moment.
Oh, is he really? Good for him.
Yeah, not in the US. He does it. He only works in Japan for them.
He must have been somewhere in Europe recently because I saw him hanging out with the drummer from Dragon Force.
Oh, I think he's on
Instagram
tour right now. So
yeah.
Interestingly, I've completely forgotten what I was going to say.
That is interesting.
At the moment, his big thing at the moment is his Rock and Rager cruise.
Oh yeah, he's doing one of those cruises.
He's doing his
really?
Labeled wrestling cruise with rock bands, but he's got some. I mean, he's got Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes. I think he's got all the big stars of the non-WWE circuits involved in it.
Yeah, a bunch of ROH Impact people and all sorts. Tickets still available. Book your cabin now.
Back to the match we were talking about, though. I always forget about AJ's silly gloves until the start of the match.
I'm just here to sell some gloves and wrestle. Well, we said that one time.
Yeah, exactly. No, it looked like... what he looks like to me sometimes is like a kid who is in goal at a football match, and his parents bought him some gloves but didn't know his size, and they bought a size too big. That's what it looks like to me. I really like AJ's. I've liked him since the TNA days. I think he's an excellent worker. He doesn't do as much aerial stuff as he once did, but that's an age thing, I'm sure.
There's a lot of it though. He still does a lot, but yeah, not as much as once. I mean, the flying forearm is still a hell of a thing. It
is, yeah, and I like his springboards off the top ropes. Those tend to be really fun. But yeah, I thought it was actually a decent match, aside from several very low energy points where it seemed like the crowd was just dead silent and weren't invested at all. And there were some fairly high peaks, but it seemed like there were some pretty low lows as well throughout this match. And I was kind of surprised at that, because this is a pretty big matchup, I think, and it seems like they've done a lot of run up to it. So I was a little bit surprised that the crowd wasn't as constantly involved as you would expect.
I didn't notice the crowd energy, but I have a note that says Joe looks like he wants a glass of lemonade and a lie down, and I would assume that was the same point.
Probably. Yeah, he did look like that. That's, I mean, you know my feelings on Samoa Joe. He's fine, but he's always relied a little bit too much on the facial expressions. I feel in ring and yeah, kind of like, oh, I'm really mad. Yeah. The kicks were pretty good. Some of those really high kicks that he does, it's pretty impressive for a big man that he can get his legs that high. And his counter submission to when AJ had like some kind of submission hold on his leg at the end. What's it called?
The calf crusher.
The calf crusher at the end. And I love the way Samoa Joe got out of it. Do you remember? He just picked him up and just started bashing him on the mat. It was fantastic.
He smashed his head,
like,
didn't
he? Mad. That's like the most innovative way to get out of a submission.
I completely missed that. I have a note about something I missed, and it must have been that, because I was taking a picture of Ed, who had fallen asleep on my sofa, and I missed something, and it must have been that.
Probably, it was great.
Brilliant.
And then toward the end of the match, I guess right at the end of the match, because it's what caused the end, was we got a chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. How often does that happen these days?
There's a couple of things that happened in it that I made a couple of notes on, because I thought it was weird. Like they really underplayed, which surprised me. That Styles attacked two of the crew.
That's true. They did. Yeah.
The barrier. And they didn't make any kind of deal out of that. And I thought that was going to be a whole big thing about him losing it. Yeah. And then the other note I made was, and I guess this is the stuffy father in me, that kid was far too young to be there.
Oh, you think? What, his daughter?
Yeah.
She certainly didn't like being held by him when he was all bloody at the end there. She would reach back for her mom very quickly.
That's going to be the Noel Foley bit from Beyond the Mat one day, isn't it?
Beyond the Mat,
yeah, it is. It
wasn't, to be honest, it wasn't even that reaction. It was because obviously, like I say, that blood bit looked fully intended after he sent Styles into the steps and all the rest of it. But then, like, it's just as soon as they cut when he was. So I'm laughing because I'm already loving the fact that Wendy's, the fast food joint, has latched onto this whole thing, because Samoa Joe doing the Wendy.
Yeah, have they really? That's awesome.
They've already picked up on it and they're using it as like a viral thing.
Nice.
But when he started doing that whole, I know I told you that his daddy's coming home, and when he started all that and the cut, I genuinely looked at his daughter and thought, too young. Like that girl, I don't know what the hell she's making of any of this, or how tired she's going to be. But
tired she's going to be?
I just like no. Well,
I'm thinking she's falling asleep in the car on the way home, and I'm trying to keep her awake, like Owen.
Yeah, but we took Owen when he was 6 to one of the live events, and he was shattered after about an hour. And
she did look 4 or 5. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much her mom is just kind of saying, just remember, it's Uncle Joe's a lovely guy. This isn't real.
Yeah, she's probably known Joe since she was born.
Yeah,
because their friendship goes all the way back. Oh, also when they showed that picture of them, did you notice? There was the side of Christopher Daniels' head, and it was just sort of cropped out, and I was like, oh, poor old Chris Daniels.
I missed that actually.
It was just sort of this slow zoom on a picture of them looking all young, and there was like just a head, and I was like, that's Christopher fucking Daniels. Fallen angel.
Oh, that reminds me actually that's one thing that bothered me. It was one of those pre-programmed bits throughout this match from the commentators. They at differing times called him a combat athlete and a hybrid athlete. Smurjo, they kept calling it, referring to him as a combat athlete or a hybrid athlete, and it's like, I know I can see you trying to do something. I can see it on a T-shirt, but it's kind of lame.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that match. It was DQ. I guess Joe wins via DQ, but no title change.
No title change. Well, that actually, going right back to the beginning, I have a note that just says, this is almost set up like AJ can't lose, but I assumed the point of it was that Joe was going to win the belt and be all-conquering, I'm a heel champ guy, because he, to be honest, he's at the point where he deserves it, and AJ could probably do with the rest, because he's had the belt for 18 years or whatever. And but then the way they were setting it up in the run up to it was just like, he can't lose this belt, else it's literally like his family and everything. It's just there's no way. And so having the slightly messy mad guy finish actually, at least it prolongs it for now, and maybe he gets the belt when this story's gone away. Yeah,
no, you're spot on, really. I mean, it contrasted to the bludgeon earlier, and it was the DQ finish, which I normally hate. I didn't, because of how they worked it and how it came about.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. Do you think his time is coming with that belt?
I think it is. I mean, I wouldn't. I think AJ is one of their big hitters for merchandise, so they'll be careful with that, won't they? But I don't know. I think it's due, and he does still seem to get a lot of props from the crowd. So, plus that feud has got legs in it by the look of it.
It's true. Wow, it's been going for 10 years at this point.
Joe's kind of face as he walked back up the ramp, you could tell it wasn't over. So who the fuck is Elias?
Elias is a traditionally entertaining heel, modern, hipster, honky-tonk drifter man who weirdly had a #1 selling record on iTunes recently, even though it was like 5 tracks of nothing. But in this was a pointless piss break, I think, for a lot of people. It weirdly felt, like Adam was saying earlier on, how planned out the show felt. It didn't really make sense to do this here or do it at all.
I couldn't tell if we were supposed to like him at first. And then, there was that cheap heat on New Yorkers.
Disgusting New Yorkers, I wrote that down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of felt like nothing. I thought he was actually going to sing, and then he just broke his gimmick guitar.
Yeah. Well, it was weird because they've had this for too long, where Bobby Lashley comes out when he's singing, stops his song and beats him up.
Oh yeah, just to address Gerard's face, Bobby Lashley is back, and he's a medium top guy on Raw.
Yeah. So they've had that, so that's kind of what you were expecting. And this was one of the night's moments where I referred to those odd moments where I kind of went, what? And when, I assumed that he didn't accidentally pull his guitar apart.
No, it looked like he tried to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what the point was, because it never went anywhere.
No.
There was no joke made of it. Like, when that happened, I was expecting Lashley to come out and be like, I played you, now I'm going to beat you up again. And that would be, okay, there you go, there's their bit. But it didn't. It never went anywhere.
No, I've literally.
No, he just kind of stepped out of his light and made some noises, and that was it. It was terrible.
And that was really just because genuinely it makes me smile when he comes on. I do look forward to what nonsense he's going to come out with, and he is generally quite entertaining.
Yep.
But no, nothing. Just
poor example for me. Clearly.
The last live show where he did that when we were together, Adam, do you remember we all sang along to Don't Look Back in Anger or whatever it was?
Yeah, I think it was Wonderwall, wasn't it?
Was it Wonderwall? Yeah.
It was thingy, wasn't it? Bobby Roode.
Bobby Roode came out with him. Yeah, and even Robert was singing along to Wonderwall at that show.
Yeah.
That's a glorious image.
So you can get into it and you can just laugh and joke, and Bobby Roode, I think in that segment that we saw in Birmingham, wasn't meant to sing with him. But he almost corpsed, and they just did it, and then he got a guitar over the head or whatever the hell it was, and it was an easy night for both of them. They got paid for singing and doing not much because no match came out. It was just a segment.
That sounds like fun. I mean, this one in SummerSlam felt a lot like that moment in the last pay-per-view that we watched together, where or talked about rather, where Maria and whoever that fella is came out and tried to do the whole. I remember he took her last name, but they tried to do that whole, with the love thing, and it just fell utterly flat. Yeah. So that's just kind of how it felt to me. It's a shame. It's a shame because clearly it sounds like it's normally a decent bit, but my comment is that was lame.
I've just got point ? And I in the run up to this year's WrestleMania, I was becoming a really big fan of Elias. And because he's just constantly entertaining shtick, and he actually can wrestle, in a kind of weird fight kind of like way. He's got a style, and it does work. It's not just all honky tonk bullshit. But he just doesn't do it very often. He makes a lot of money for not a lot of work, I think. Well, does he work a lot on TV?
To be honest, the TV thing has been largely
guitaring.
Either beats down some poor schmuck easily, or somebody like Bobby Lashley comes down and beats him up easily. It was Bobby Roode for a bit, then it's Bobby Lashley. Got a problem with Bobbies, basically.
Yeah.
There's some Bobby vendetta thing going on.
I'm gonna have to move my dad out of Worcester. He knows he's coming. You sang Wonderwall guitar.
At first he was coming off to me as kind of like a what was that movie with Paul Rudd and Wanderlust? Do you remember that? Movie where he felt like that kind of hippie commune spiritual guru type guy, like new agey cult leader was what I was picking up on at first, but that started to ebb away, and I was like, oh, maybe that'd be a good route for him. He could kind of have a stable of granola-y type wrestlers. They haven't done that before. So
yeah, it's true.
Fun.
They probably could. But yeah, his whole walk with Elias thing is like it's the fans love doing it, but then he has to call them disgusting New Yorkers to remind them he's a heel. It's a real strange dynamic.
Yeah, kind of mixed bag.
Yeah, but it's quite entertaining. So anyway, we've talked about it for longer than it went on. Should we move?
True, good point. Yes,
we're at 1 hour 37 for this. Would you believe?
Okay, dang. Next match was Miz and Daniel Bryan, and so it seemed to me from the very start, in fact, before the start, right after the Elias bit, they did that little they did an interview, and it seemed like they were cheering for the Miz, and like and throughout the whole match, it seemed there was mixed support between the Miz and Daniel Bryan, which kind of surprised me because I thought Daniel Bryan's a very over face, and the Miz is kind of like just everyone pretty much hates him, but I must be wrong.
I didn't notice that at all. Did you notice that, Adam?
I did notice there was the segment where the Miz ran into the B team early on.
Yes.
And he did get quite a big cheer.
As soon as he appeared, there was a cheer from the crowd.
Yeah, he had his stupid white glasses on. But I have to say, during the match, I didn't pick up as much of that.
So there were two times in the match I noticed where there were Daniel Bryan chants, and it was Daniel Bryan, let's go Miz.
Oh,
Daniel
really?
Bryan,
Okay.
let's go Miz. It's like two warring chants.
The way that the WWE universe is now, I don't know why I'm doing quotation marks in the air. I'm the only one without a camera. But you just get the feeling that they'll do that just to be contrary, because they're arseholes.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. Well, that's kind of, especially with the New York crowd, like you're in the old ECW kind of area, aren't you? And everyone's going to be a bit of a dick about it, because they're there to have as much fun. Actually, there's a great note I've got for this later on, but we'll come back to it.
One of my first notes that I have to mention before the match proper, because I don't know if you guys got it or if it was just me. I felt like the lead-in stuff, the footage and the promo for the match was about 10 times longer than any other match before it. I don't know what it was. It just felt like it went on and on and on and on, building the match up.
That's interesting because my note says I imagine that video would be better.
Yeah.
Because there's so much good stuff that I remember happening, and most of it wasn't in there. But they had a lot of this to camera, like "Dad, I'm gonna beat you up" kind of type shit, and it didn't really work for me. It was just a bit blah.
Well, to kick off the rest of the conversation, my next note on the match as a whole is, and this is where I think people will disagree with me, it's the first match of the night that I felt let down by. Didn't enjoy it.
It was fine. I mean, I imagined the video would be better, and I imagined the story would be better, and if anything, I would say I imagined I would have had less questions than I did, because this story should tell itself.
Yeah.
But Ed woke up at this point and went, "Is this the yes guy?" As he was coming down a ramp that said yes like 18 times, and I just turned to him and went, "What do you think?"
Yeah. I think my big issue with this one, and like you talk about the in-ring storytelling, is how strong they made The Miz look in comparison to Bryan.
That's
that
fair.
really got my back up, because bearing in mind that The Miz, part of the thing is how much he copycats Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
With not just with the kicks, but with his whole approach. And then to have him fairly going toe to toe for what felt like quite a long match was a bit like, I think, did you say this one was the longest one? It just didn't work for me, because I think because of the squash previously, I thought, they're going to do it again. They're going to have him teach The Miz a lesson. So when they didn't, it felt a bit like, come on.
My biggest question of this was, in terms of making The Miz look better, there was a thing a while back about Daniel Bryan hadn't signed a new contract because of his whole concussion situation, how tight they are on him. Has he not re-signed? Because the ending and the way they made The Miz look good feeds into a story of like the old traditional way a wrestler would leave and would make the guy that they left behind look good and leave the door open for later and whatnot. And it felt like that in the segment later on where it was like, oh yeah, it's okay, it's the story probably end the other way kind of thing, was either setting up for a long-term feud or...
I don't think, I'll tell you what happened on SmackDown in a bit.
Okay.
Which I don't think, it fits more with what happened. They went back and showed Daniel Bryan discussing it with Brie.
Yes.
It fits more with what that conversation was than anything else.
There probably will be another match, and then, because this felt like it, if I was doing it, armchair booker guy, Miz gets the belt somehow, and then Miz versus Bryan is a long build to WrestleMania.
Or Hell in a Cell will be Miz and Maurice versus Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella.
Oh, that sounds... I don't want to watch that.
That's what's happening.
Oh, is it?
Maurice?
Yeah, that's what was announced on SmackDown.
Why wasn't his wife at ringside? Because it's another thing that makes Miz look better. I know she was there to feed off the brass knucks, but we knew Brie was coming out for the other match later. So why wasn't she there to support her husband at this one? Because
that wouldn't have allowed the whole brass knuckles thing to happen, and it was just one of those things that just didn't make any sense.
It didn't make sense. I was a bit sort of like, where's your wife? I should have been a champ.
Yeah. Especially with how much Daniel Bryan's played on how much Brie's done for him in his comeback, and the whole thing didn't make sense. And then his interview, like they had that follow-up bit with Brie talking to him after the match, and he was all like, he got to me and he was right, and it was this and it was that. It was all. I just thought it all fell terrifically flat, and it's such a shame because Daniel Bryan is probably the best technical in-ring guy there is, but it just.
Sorry, the question I have written down for the end of this one, so I've got to change the page I'm on in my little book. In the overview of like you watching it as coming back for a while, Gerard, and Adam in your weekly thing, did this match damage Bryan for you?
For me, yes.
You think? Right, I wondered, because it felt like... I'm leaning on my keyboard, sorry if you heard that.
It was, to be honest, it's how the match was booked, because the build-up to this, speaking as a weekly viewer, has been The Miz has had this thing about that Daniel Bryan's style and his approach actually hinders him, and Daniel Bryan's had this whole thing about you want to cheat and take shortcuts. So kind of like, if the brass knucks thing happened after 5 minutes of Daniel Bryan being completely on top, it would have fit the narrative. And that's why I was so bothered by The Miz going toe-to-toe to him for 20-odd minutes
Yeah,
before the
I can see that.
To me, it did hurt Bryan, because it was like, The Miz, and this is like my whole thing earlier about Strowman being too strong. The Miz has more than once in the last year or two been a joke in that any wrestler worth their salt he will not go one-on-one with, because he knows that he'll get destroyed. And it kind of like, to then have him matching up to Bryan fair and square for 20 minutes, no matter how it ended, just hurts Bryan for me.
Yeah, I can see it. In that context, I can see it. I hadn't thought about it before that. But with that sort of narrative, you're right. What you've got to do is have them as dodging things, ducking things, getting out the ring regularly, throwing the referee in front of him. You've got to have him doing things that show that he can't stand toe to toe with him, and then he cheats, with the assistance of someone at ringside. I think you're right. In that regard, it kind of does make Daniel Bryan take the shine off Daniel Bryan a little bit, and I've missed most of Daniel Bryan's presence in the WWE, to be honest with you, because I've been out of it for most of the time he's been around. But he seems like an excellent wrestler to me, and a really good personality as well. I really enjoy his stuff. So to see him kind of diminished a little bit like that is a shame. But I wonder if it's what you said, Mark, and it's because he hasn't re-signed, or hasn't been fully cleared and to be back full time permanently. They're looking for an out. Okay.
But there's a weird thing with him. Like, did you notice when they came off the top rope, it was The Miz that took the move, but the referee was right there quickly to make sure Daniel Bryan was all right.
Yeah.
He was there giving him the hand squeeze and making sure he was... Because I'm under the impression they make him do some form of concussion testing after every match still, which is probably why he's a bit less interested in being there than you might think, because I should think that's a pain in the arse.
You're talking about the belly to back superplex thing that they did. That was a great move. Then they both took it super well.
Yeah, but they were there checking Bryan. Just like, you bang your head,
Yeah,
because he was written off. He's the first one of these guys, like a Page or an Edge or whatever. I mean, they have different things, but he's the only one I know that's actually come back from anything like that.
Sure.
And for concussions to be the issue they are as well,
Yeah.
I suppose Austin's a fair one, but I
thought Austin was totally done.
Yeah, that's
and HBK to a certain extent. I don't know.
That was a surprise, but then the gap was much bigger, like 5 years.
Much bigger. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Much bigger. But yeah, so I wonder if the terms of another contract are still ongoing, and if it doesn't happen now, at least they've set it up. They could come back later. But if they've already set up a match for the middle of September, I don't know when I read his contract was up, and that was a long time ago anyway. So, but it felt like they were shotgunning into this match quicker than it should be. Like, it felt like let it build and build and build and build and build, and then WrestleMania, because it's what it deserved. But
yeah.
Whatever.
The only thing that kind of perturbed me about this match, because otherwise I'm kind of with Adam in that it wasn't super great. It was fine. The thing that bothered me given the history that Daniel Bryan has with the head stuff, the fact that one of his signature moves is essentially the crippler crossface brought back too many parallels, and this is all on me. This is probably just me.
No, he used to do the flying headbutt as well.
Oh, geez. So yeah, I mean, at that moment when he did that, I think they called it the yes lock.
Yes.
I was just like, it's Benoit too. It just kind of, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know if that's just me kind of having lived through all of that. I don't know.
You're not the first one to mention it. Put it that way.
Okay, good.
Especially with the flying headlock. Could you imagine? The flying headbutt, and then the concussion stuff, and the is he okay, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But very different character. Both in and out of the ring, I would say. So you would hope that the story doesn't end that way. But
I don't think. I think it's doubtful. But yeah, it's still. Yeah.
That's why they're keeping such a close eye on him, I would think, just because of all that sort of stuff, the potential for any really bad press. But yeah, I mean, I hope he re-signs and he goes on and has another 10, 15 years of his career, really. But But yeah, in this match, I've seen him do better, to be honest. But I didn't mind it, but it wasn't... Well, I don't know, we'll do this at the end, but I don't know what I would say my best one of the night was right now, actually thinking about it. Let's keep going and we'll decide at the end.
Okay. So after that, if we're done with that match, after that there was the promo for Trip Taker in Oz. The last time ever thing.
Such a... This weird international type WrestleMania shows they're doing, like the Saudi
Arabia.
Greatest Royal Rumble.
That was it.
Yeah.
And this Melbourne Cricket Ground show, like they're these big network specials, but they're never really. Well, it seems to me that they're not really built towards on TV. They just kind of happen, and there's trailers, and there's not much about them.
Interestingly, on a pretty strong Raw and a phenomenal SmackDown this week, because SmackDown's on a new network over there, isn't it?
Oh, is it finally gone over to wherever it's gone?
USA network, I think it is.
Okay.
Because of that, SmackDown was off the hook. It was probably the best one that I've ever seen. But the worst thing on Raw was Triple H trying to build up his why he's fighting the Undertaker. It was crap.
Oh, they
really?
are actually trying to build to it on TV, because I assumed it was just going to be, we'll trail it and you won't see both of them in a ring together until.
It came out just to talk about how he had to become the game again to take on the Phenom, and it was dirge.
Oh, that's a shame. He can go on a little bit, can't he, Trip? We've seen that in the past where he gets kind of a bit too into himself with his promos, and he just goes on and on.
Yeah, he started one in January 2004 that I think is still going. With his nice coiffured hair. And his one, like his weird Lemmy thing.
Lemmy mustache,
Yeah.
So next match, if you were done talking about that, was Corbin and the Demon Finn Balor. Balor. How do you say his name?
Balor, yeah.
Balor.
Balor.
And I've got to say, it's another squash that I liked.
Yeah, me too. I like the fact the match ended before the smoke had even cleared from his entrance.
I have to say that like the demon thing, I think his getup is fantastic. I think I think he does a lot of the body paint stuff himself, and
it's pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff is great. I just think it looks really awkward when he's making his way into the ring.
Like on all fours and sticking his tongue out too much?
It's like when I'm playing Tigers with my kids. It's kind of like the way he crawls across the floor does not look intimidating. It looks slightly
erotic.
It's like,
wait, why did you go straight to erotic? He's not Terry Crews.
Yeah. Hey, you have black makeup on.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, I thought he was the boogeyman at first, so.
And he's going to get you.
He's going to get you.
I like this. I like the squash, partly because, like I said, I like the squash for different reasons. Because it wasn't just about giving Balor a push; it was about laughing at Baron Corbin and his. I think people are calling him bartender Baron Corbin now in his
because he wrestles in a waistcoat.
Stage head thing. But
nice.
To be honest, I think it looks a lot better than he did with half of his hair hanging on and his weird rocker kind of look.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's kind of nothing. I remember him from the last one we did, and yeah, he was kind of nothing in that. And this was a squash that I was okay with. I was surprised that 2 squashes in a single pay-per-view, but still, it was fine. I just the demon thing's good, and like I said, the face paint's very impressive. Yeah, the crawling around on all fours type stuff. I don't think it looks as cool as he thinks it does, and I wish he wouldn't stick his tongue out so much. It really perturbed me.
Too erotic, right?
Too erotic, yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, moving on.
Jeff Hardy and Shinsuke Nakamura.
Just before we do that, this was where they jammed in that segment with Brie and thing backstage, and I started chanting, "There's your wife, there's your wife." So, to myself, I think Ed was asleep again.
I actually had to Wikipedia that because I was like, why is she talking to him? Yeah, it seemed like he had something he wanted to say in that, and he couldn't quite remember his lines. He stumbled a little bit.
She had her lines down. She just can't perform. Like, she had so many lines, and she'd remembered every one of them. But it was very. That put me off watching. No matter what he said,
she was gonna say her lines.
Yeah, it would have been great.
It's a completely the wrong feed thing.
Yeah. It would have been so.
But
good.
yeah, that would have been pretty funny. Charismatic Enigma puzzle.
Yay! In full charismatic enigmatic Enigma puzzle. The eyes thing was fun with the contacts and
the eyes thing
opening
was
them
fun,
and closing them and
yeah.
And interestingly, he's been doing that on the weekly shows for a couple of weeks.
Oh, really?
Building up as well.
What's the backstory here? Is he still palling around with Matt, or are they estranged at this point?
Different
'Cause I noticed
brands?
Different brands?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Matt.
they're all different brands.
Oh,
Hardy's,
okay.
Matt is currently with Bray Wyatt on Raw.
With Bray
they've got
Wyatt, that was. Sorry, Adam, you broke up. So with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, he's tagging with Bray Wyatt, and they've got this whole woken thing going on. The Jeff Hardy dynamic's interesting though, because he does still use some of the language. Like he'll talk like broken Matt Hardy sometimes,
Okay.
and he'll talk about
Still does the Hitler salute as well.
stuff. Yeah, but he doesn't do as much of it.
No,
he's kind
Probably a
of
good thing.
gone kind of back to being Hardy, but kind of
A little bit of Brother Nero still.
yeah.
Yeah, but he's definitely kind of Willow and the Wispy, painty face and slow Hardy. Although I actually thought he did pretty well in this match. You can tell he's aging, but I thought it was a decent performance for someone who's probably in his 40s at this point.
Yeah, I think he's like
With the flippy
42.
floppy style.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing was, I like the match. I mean, Mark knows I'm a big fan of Shinsuke Nakamura. I think the guy's brilliant, but he's had some pretty poor matches in pay-per-views as Nakamura, and I didn't think
they've
he
not
didn't
used
have
him.
a bad one. It was a decent match, I thought.
It was
Although-
fine. I thought he was more of an aerial worker, Shinsuke Nakamura. Am I wrong about that? He seemed like he was much more on the mat than I expected.
Yeah. No, he's all kicks, technical stuff and grappling, and that's him. He's a proper old school Japanese technical wrestler type.
Gotcha.
But I mean, the one thing I would say that was interesting was I was genuinely couldn't figure out how badly Hardy was hurt by that. Was it he did onto the apron?
The swanton onto the apron.
Oh,
that looked
shit. Yeah, I'd
extremely
forgotten about
painful.
that. That did look
Oh
extremely
man,
painful.
that looked painful.
Because
Yeah, because I've got two notes right in a row because he did a swanton right before that, and I wrote, yay, swanton. And then he did the one onto the apron, and I was like, ouch, swanton.
But then the match kind of ended straight after that, and I didn't know if that was he's just hurt himself, finished the match kind of thing. But then on Tuesday SmackDown, he had an absolute barnstormer of a match with Randy Orton.
Oh, they already did that? I assume that was going to be the next bloody thing.
Me too,
No,
yeah.
that was on
That would be
Tuesday,
Hell in a Cell.
And that included a swanton off like a speaker stack at height, so he couldn't have done himself any serious harm.
I really wish I could watch the weeklies on the network. I get why I can't. Sky, bloody the US TV stuff, and they've got this deal with Hulu where you get them on there, haven't they? But I just wish.
I saw that. I saw the promo for that. I've got Hulu, so I can watch them weekly now.
But Hulu doesn't push it at you. It doesn't be like, you probably would like this.
No.
All right. I think they do the edit of Raw on there as well, so you don't have to put up with all 3 hours of it.
Okay.
But,
Hulu at this point is just suggesting Terry Crews half naked to Gerard.
that is an option on there.
It's still back episodes of Everybody Hates Chris, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Battledome.
That's
White
all your
Chicks.
Hulu list is, or whatever. Why isn't there more Terry Crews stuff on here? I'm surprised they blew off that match this quickly, but that's awesome. I go back and watch this one because I think we get them on the network like a month late or 2 months late or something, which it kind of just means they're pointless unless you're doing a rewatch of 2001, which I am.
Yeah.
But did anybody else notice, and this was my favourite part of this match, after Orton came down and when he was walking back up and they had it, camera on him and he was walking back up, and someone in the background went, "You suck, Orton!" and he kind of mumbled. And I'm pretty sure he went, I don't. and I was just like, what? Did he just do what I think he did? It's like, "You suck, Orton!"
Oh, I gotta go rewatch that. That's hilarious.
He just it was only like the bottom left-hand side of his mouth, like, I don't.
That was my that
Your
hot
dad.
Orton thing was my second what the hell thing. Like, what? It just felt entirely pointless. Like, he walked out, Jeff Hardy's still on the floor, and he walked back in again.
Yeah,
It
he
was
didn't
like,
do anything.
Yeah,
I thought it
that was-
skipped, but yeah.
Yeah. So did you change your mind? I don't understand what's just happened. Like,
I think in Orton's mind that's I'm psychologically tormenting him, or
The
you
guy
know,
who's
this is
already
me
broken
playing
and-
a game.
yeah.
I'm so smart, you know. But it just
Yeah,
came off as stupid.
just the fact that the guy was still on the floor going,
Yeah,
"Ow,
he could have
fucking
gone.
back." He didn't notice.
He had
Orton
no
doing
idea he was there.
Yeah. The one thing I did notice about Nakamura, and I do like Nakamura's style, is that he didn't know how to take the twist of fate. I looked like he was going to pull his head off both times he did it. He didn't take it right.
Yeah, no, I'd agree
Did
with
you notice that, Mark?
I didn't, but that now you mention it, it does make sense. I thought at the time it was like, they don't look right, but I never really questioned who was at fault or whatever. It just kept on going.
He kind of almost took it like a stunner or something, but didn't go to his knees. But I think he's supposed to pancake and flatten out and do a front bump when he take the twist of fate. He didn't do that either time, and it just looked like he was going to snap his neck. It was awful.
I don't.
No, I did notice that. Somebody else has done that recently as well. I can't think who it was, but they did exactly the same thing, where they took it like a stunner. Very weird.
Huh. Interesting. What the other note I have is I don't know how old Shinsuke Nakamura is, but I would love to have seen like 2001 Jeff versus today Shinsuke Nakamura. I think that would have been a fabulous matchup, just because Jeff's lost a bit of that speed that he used to have, and I think if they had both of those, it would be super high impact and be really good.
You will find AJ versus Nakamura from Japan a couple of years ago, and there's some stellar matches in that.
Phenomenal, yeah.
Because they were both in New Japan at the height, and I think they were exchanging the belt for a bit. But Jeff, sadly not. But yeah, Nakamura's definitely slowed down to a WWE pace, and Jeff, age has kind of got Jeff a wee bit.
I mean, they used a line earlier on in the Daniel Bryan promo stuff where he said, "I knew my style would catch up with him," and if there's anyone that's true of, I think it's Jeff.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's like Matt as well. Matt apparently is carrying all kinds of injuries, isn't he?
He always kind of was. He always had that. Didn't he have a chest thing? Because he always went from the chest a bit. Didn't he have like a guts thing he was dealing with for years, or an intestinal thing?
I think so.
And
he's always been the bigger of the two as well. So he was always a little bit slower, but definitely faster than he was now, I'm sure. Although he's still doing. You already said this. Yeah, he's still doing kind of the whole broken. What is it? Woken? Did you say
Woken.
now?
Yeah. Woken.
Okay. But is it the same shtick where he kind of does the weird voice and stuff and has the funny hair?
Yeah.
And does the Nazi
Wonderful.
salutes? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Delete.
So that was the end of that match. The only other note I have for that is I hear voices in my head. They are the voices in my head. They talk to me because I hate Orton's music.
I noticed the back of his jacket said Apex Predator or whatever it was again, which was one of his old kind of things. I thought that he certainly hasn't used that moniker in a while.
No, he hasn't, but the commentary teams have.
Okay.
They've consistently, for the last couple of years, they've called him that on and off.
Okay, because he was the Viper for a while, wasn't he? And then blah, blah, blah. And then I guess he's a heel now, so Apex Predator is the heel persona or whatever. I don't know.
It's just funny that says Apex Predator when he's got the tattoos of Predator and Alien on his arms.
That's a 10-year-old joke.
Momentary callback.
Yeah. Hey, Phil. Sorry you couldn't be here.
I started out my notes for this with Orton, and my last note for it is I repeat Orton. So next match, I think penultimate match, in fact. Rowdy Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss for the women's belt. I have a question.
Yeah, go on.
The Rowdy thing, did that happen before he died?
Yes.
Did they? Okay, good. I was worried that they'd just kind of gone, well, he's dead now, let's use it.
No, she's got his jacket. That's his actual jacket. They were friends.
That's his actual jacket.
She used the name in UFC as well, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right, then I'm more okay with it.
She was like his favourite wrestler or whatever.
Tribute thing.
Okay.
That has been well covered, I think. But I'll let you know. I'll open this one up because I have to say it straight away. I just think she just does not look at all comfortable as a wrestler.
Yeah, she hasn't improved a great deal for me since WrestleMania.
No, I think there were two lead-ups where I thought I really clearly heard her calling the move,
Oh, okay.
And then she did it so obviously that the commentary team had to cover for her when she did the "Are you ready?" to Alexa Bliss. And then I think it was Coachman actually went, "Huh, she's even asking if she's ready. And I thought, no, we
Okay.
all know what's just happened.
I didn't clock that, but you're absolutely right. That's like a Cena like backdrop, you know.
Yeah, yeah, but she did it. She did it a couple of times, and at one of them. I thought she's pretty much just shouted that. To me, she just doesn't look comfortable as a wrestler, and I think Bliss is one of the best. She's almost the female Kevin Owens in a way. She does well at making the others look good, and she
Yeah,
can
I'd
take
agree with that.
it. And there was more than one occasion where I thought I really felt for Bliss. I thought she just
There was a lot of stalling in this, and it wasn't that long. Like clearly, they wanted to get to the armbar thing because, and they've already done it, but I'm sure they've tried to obliterate that from history. They already did something where someone broke her arm, and she did that whole double jointed my arm can pop out
they
thing.
did, yeah.
Was it with
Yeah.
Nia Jax or someone, or was it with
No,
Becky? Was it with Becky?
I think it was Sasha Banks.
Okay.
I think it was it was one of the Sasha Banks things. She held it up like she'd broken it.
Yeah, so it's all like, you know.
Yeah.
I had a question about that actually. I was wondering if it was that she's double jointed, or if they just kind of found a clever way of her bending it and getting like a good camera angle on it or something. But
No,
I mean, because it looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
I agree though. Rousey doesn't look comfortable in the ring. It looks like It does look like she's come from something else. It looks like what it reminded me of was early Bobby Lashley. Very early Bobby Lashley looked a lot like this, and it was very awkward, and you could kind of see the cogs turning in his head, and I don't know if there's so much of the audible calls, but definitely didn't look natural in the ring and botched a lot of things, and it just didn't seem quite right. And the other thing is that I don't know if Rousey has the requisite charisma for this business. She doesn't seem. There were a couple of moments where she was trying to be like, like get the crowd working, and there was very little reaction to it. I thought.
Shall I do it? Shall I take
that
the
stuff.
arm? Shall I do it? And it was just get on with it. We know what this is going for.
Seriously.
There's been so much stalling at that point, you're right about Alexa Bliss. She's great. I'm a bit tired of the act right now, but she can do the facial expressions and stuff like almost no one else. And they lingered with that, and they were like, "Oh, she's gonna run away," and it was just like, "Get on with it." Is it Monty Python where God comes in? It's like, "Get on with it."
Get on with it.
I've got some comments about that towards the end of the match. But has anybody got anything else in the middle? I suppose, or should we just aftermath?
No, I mean there was nothing. I mean the only thing I was going to say is like throughout the match, when she was doing the whole, "Oh look, I'm meditating. You can't even get me when I'm meditating."
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I think we should mention the god awful makeup job they did in the.
But the
which they
whole
also
reason
carried
for
through
that,
to Raw.
the whole reason for that was that shot of the eyes coming off that, so that you could get that bum, because her eyes are so blue or whatever, and you've got that giant like smoky whatever. And it was just the way she, like, clearly that camera guy was waiting, lingering for her to bam with those eyes coming open. They will use that in video package after video package.
They will, but unfortunately, they still had the makeup job on Raw on the next night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's
That felt like a kind of like a special event makeup job, but.
Yeah, but no, it's crap. But no, like when they were doing the meditation thing, I go back to my earlier comments about Braun Strowman. If you make her untouchable, then what the hell are you going to do?
Yeah.
They're going to pitch it as the only woman who stands a chance against her is Nia Jax.
Or Charlotte.
Charlotte's the best end of the rest of them.
Yeah.
But Nia Jax
I don't know whether we said this on here, but we've said it to each other enough. It's that Brock Lesnar thing, isn't it? You elevate them so much, and then there's a giant drop off to the next person.
Yeah, exactly that.
What else have I got on this one? The eyes thing I wrote down. I thought the video package for this was great, and then the match was a real kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. The bit with Natty at the start coming out first because obviously her father died. Did you know that, Jared? Jimmy Anvil?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. I love that she comes out to Joan Jett because I could listen to that song till the day I die. During this match, they finally pushed the 360 thing that they have those cameras around the place for. You know, like
they?
the one rope has the one turnbuckle has that the extra block on it with like two lenses.
Yeah.
And then by the side of the ring, there's another one, and it's this weird VR type thing.
Oh,
and
cool.
they finally pushed it during this match because I don't know what the outlet is for that. I know they put clips of it on YouTube. I don't know if you can watch the whole show.
Doesn't Oculus have like its own channel for that sort of stuff?
This was called like Next VR or something. The thing they were pushing.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, it would be whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, because everyone went up to that same ring post to do their whatever, because then you could be like, oh look, oh damn, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot to say. I didn't think about that match. It was fine, but it was the Ronda Rousey thing. I'm just not sure about. I think Vince or whoever's in charge now thought, well, big name from UFC. Let's bring her in, and I can see why she'd want to be in that, because I'm sure it's far less taxing on the body, despite it being taxing, than UFC or MMA type stuff is. You know, people tend to have a far longer career and a ton of money. Yeah, so I can understand why they're doing it. I just don't know whether I like it or not.
Yeah, giving her the belt this quickly is very Brock, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
And untested, and there's a couple of ways you could have done it, and I'm not a big fan of this one. I've got more to say about the aftermatch than I have about the match itself. So
say it.
Sorry, I was having a little burp. She smiled too much. You know, I thought they were going to say she'd broken the arm and they'll get Alexa away for a little while. Was Alexa on Raw on Monday? Or she's selling the arm?
I can't remember if she was. I don't think who Rousey took on. I think maybe she. Sorry, I'm just because I know that they had the whole Bailey Riot Squad, Sasha Banks thing is the one that I remember taking away from it.
Well, the Sasha and Bailey versus the Riot Squad.
Yeah,
and that was good.
They had a thing with Ronda Rousey and Stephanie McMahon that she won't play by Stephanie McMahon's rules.
Yeah,
that was a big theme of it, but I can't remember. I think Alexa Bliss was just sucking up to Stephanie McMahon, if I remember rightly. She was
sling or whatever.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that was it actually.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's. I was just kind of wondering because they didn't say she'd broken it, and I thought the clear thing would be to just say she broke the arm and then make her like the arm breaker or whatever. I don't know. But then she was like, she'd done this really nasty thing, and then she was just smiling and she did it at the Royal Rumble or whenever she came out the first time. Like, she was trying to look mean, but she was just really happy to be there. And that seemed odd. She seemed too pleased with herself for having done a really bad thing to someone.
Yeah.
And it didn't really work character-wise, and it didn't really work for the match. And by that point, then they never cut back to Alexa to be like, oh, Alexa's really hurt. She was just gone out of there, wasn't she? She had rolled out and she was gone, and then it was all about the celebration and the let's hug my husband and here come the Bellas. And I assumed there was going to be a turn or something. Then the crowd started booing the Bellas, and I was like, okay. And then it just nothing came of any of it. And the celebration probably lasted longer than the damn match.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to a little bit to the fact that she's not really mature enough in the business yet to consistently sell that character. It's something that you see in inexperienced actors, you know, where they're not always in character when they're on stage or screen. There are the moments where they deliver their lines or the bits that they're supposed to be doing. They're in character, and then all of a sudden they fall out of character. And one of the things that you get told, exactly, yeah. One of the things you get told is like you're always in character when you're on stage. And I think she just probably hasn't quite got there yet, and that's what the smiles are about. It's real Ronda coming through, rowdy Ronda disappearing for a bit.
I didn't, because she's so like mean mugging, like ready to go, and then just that. Smiling was, I felt it was bad natured, and then the celebration all felt artificial.
Woo.
So
yeah, it did.
So I just couldn't really get on board with it. I didn't think it was bad, and I'm not really against her being champion, but it's just like nothing, like the thing that you would expect to happen to get there happened, but it just didn't slot together right somehow. It's like a load of random bits from IKEA, and they're kind of the right bits, but they don't. It was like a bad IKEA flat pack.
Like this is from Splorg and this is from Dontfjord, but they almost go together.
Yeah, and now I've got a Spledonkfjord.
Exactly, yeah.
This was a Spledonkfjord of a match, folks.
A term surely to catch on.
I hope so.
Sure.
Hashtag Spledonkfjord.
Okay, next match, final match of the night. Brock Lesnar versus Jason Momoa.
Nice.
Why hasn't that joke been made a lot?
Yeah, I have to say something quite important in the build-up to this, which is my best note that I was very proud of, which was as Roman Reigns was coming out, a kid was holding up a sign, which was him doing, his cock before he does the Superman
I've got
punch.
that. I've got that as a note.
It just looked like
I didn't get that.
fisting sign.
Was the kid just doing it over and over again?
Oh,
It was just a kid fisting with this sign.
it was amazing.
I missed that.
Fisting sign.
That sign with the loading up arm is amazing, is what I've got, because it was just like, I was crying.
I have to say, before we get to the match, I think you have to mention the Braun Strowman thing.
Yep.
And it was my final, biggest, arguably most confused what the hell moment. Just because he went on about, I'm not going to do it behind your back, I'm not going to do it behind your face. So I thought
Three-way.
triple threat match.
That's what I thought. Triple threat match.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm going to go over there and wait.
No, I'm just going to wait and see what happens.
And then get taken out like a chump and then end a pay-per-view.
But having said that,
Lame.
I wouldn't go that far because I actually thought the match was spectacularly well booked. I think they played it. Personally, I thought they played it brilliantly.
You both suck. You both suck. Was a chant that I heard, and I was like, I concur. I concur.
But that's why I thought they booked it brilliantly. Because that match, you actually had people openly saying they won't watch SummerSlam because it's Reigns Lesnar again. So bringing Strowman out took the edge off that straight away. Then having Reigns win it the way he did, with Lesnar having taken Strowman out, I think they finally got Reigns to take the title and did it in a way that wasn't entirely hateful.
I will give you that on the ending. It was a way to do it without completely buggering it up and having that Brock problem we've already discussed. Like, it felt somehow like the two of them could just about take Brock, and then he got it and he snatched it and whatever. It didn't feel like decisive, but it worked as an ending. But the rest of the match, to me, felt like watching two kids in the arcade who only know two fucking moves, just hit the same buttons, and you're damn well waiting to get on the damn Street Fighter 2 machine, but they're like, hand slap.
Hadouken.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I thought it was well booked, because they were always going to be that, because that's all he can do. Lesnar does his German suplexes. Reigns kind of copied the Goldberg shtick of go straight after him with your big move straight away.
Yeah.
It didn't work. Then he had the crap getting out of the guillotine where Lesnar was clearly doing all the work with one arm.
Yeah.
But they just kind of cut it all out by having the Strowman thing. They didn't even make the match. It wasn't even a proper match. It was just the Strowman thing was the big distraction, and then it was the win.
It was over super quick, it seemed. And I was checking to see how long I had left to watch. And I remember seeing like 15 minutes, and the match, it was still the run up to the match. And I was thinking, wow, that's going to be a really short main event. And yeah, so I was kind of surprised that it was so short. And my last note was just, it seemed super anticlimactic to me because it didn't, the payoff of Strowman didn't take place. I thought that would have been, I thought they might actually follow through and have a quick squash, and then all of a sudden, Reigns' reign ends, and then he's Universal Champion, Strowman's Universal Champion.
Did you notice that at the start of the match they really heavily laid into Brock, and then were really praising Roman with the whole rebellious workhorse thing, which just seems like opposing concepts, but
yeah.
So they were really. How do you feel about Roman Reigns and the Roman hate these days? Because you were one of the guys who was a bit like, "Come on, get over it. The time's past."
Yeah, be honest with you, this is why I was so positive about how the match turned out, because they've done such an absolute clusterfuck of a job on the last load of matches between the two of them.
That's fair.
The whole build-up where they had Brock overworking him and absolutely tearing him apart, and then just had him straight beat him a couple of times. And it was kind of, where are you going with this? So to have them do it the way they did, I thought was quite a neat way of, because you think from what's going on at the moment, you imagine that's Lesnar's last input into WWE for a year or two, you would have thought.
Yeah, he's definitely in that UFC shape or getting there, isn't he? Like, he's slimmed down like a lot.
Yeah. So he's going to be out. Reigns, so, you know, to be honest, they need regular circulation and in, you know, the smaller pay-per-views and things as well.
Yeah.
And I think it had to happen, and the way they did it, I thought was quite handy.
Yeah, that belt not being around for most of the last year and a bit is just makes a nonsense of it, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. Is that what happened? That he's held the Universal Championship, but he's just been gone?
Yeah, 460 something days or something it is. But he's only there for high holidays and, you know, the occasional appearance.
And that was they even used it as a kind of mechanism to try and get the fans on Roman Reigns' side, where he'd come out and openly point out the fact that Brock Lesnar's never here. I'm here every week.
Yeah.
Doing my thing. Yeah, but they're still booing him. I understand the booing more and more, but I just think it's old hat, and I think the longer you guys do the booing, the longer it draws this whole thing out. So just stop it, and they'll give in. I mean, I read this week that Reigns is now their leading guy for merchandise.
So I think he has been for a while, actually. I've read that. I've read that before. Now, essentially, now that senior, there you go, John Senior, wink.
I get it.
Is you know, I haven't. No, I read the other day he's not been there since Mania, and I hadn't noticed. So whatever that tells you. So it wouldn't surprise me.
If he's that guy, then your booing is not going to mean shit to anyone.
No,
so
exactly.
It's kind of pointless by now.
I still don't really understand, though, because I think we discussed this at the time. He didn't get the belt at Mania. Okay, we've got that Saudi Arabia show in 3 weeks. He'll get it then. And then he still didn't. And then it's just been like, let's keep it going and keep it going. It's just like, just kind of get it over with. So I suppose this has finally done that, at least. Yeah. I did enjoy that Strowman called Brock Beastie Boy and the Beastie Boys chant broke out. That was probably my favourite bit of the entire match.
I did like that.
Strowman is an inadvertent, brilliant man with the mic. Like, apparently the whole get these hands thing was apparently just him ad-libbing. He just came out with it, yeah.
He does. Now there's this thing. It is a bit kind of like, come on, get behind me. It felt a bit like, keep it going.
Yeah. So. The first utterance of it apparently was just him. But I like some of the stuff he comes out with that he clearly does just spit out at people is absolute gold sometimes.
No, I'd agree with that. He has. I've seen enough of him where he's occasionally coming out with gems of nonsense, but they're just like, oh, good for him.
That's good. Yeah, I like the kind of the beastly tone of his voice as well. He's got kind of quite a booming voice.
I've got a booming voice.
Yeah. Splendid. But speaking of people who speak well, Paul E still kind of got it. He looks more and more like a weeble, more and more like the Sinister Minister every day. But no, wait.
Defending.
Yeah. No, more and more like Paul Bearer every day. But he can still talk.
He dressed up as Paul Bearer during the CM Punk versus Undertaker match at WrestleMania 29, and it was a sight to behold.
It's amazing. I might have to go check that out.
Because they stole the urn off
Excellent.
And were running around. And he was dressed as Paul Bearer, and they were throwing it like a football. And yeah. Then Paul Bearer died, and it got a bit sad.
Yeah.
But it worked. Anyway, that match is great, by the way. That was the best match of that entire Mania. So it's worth checking out. Damn sight better than this one.
Yeah. It's just anticlimax for me.
Yeah. But in a way, I get Adam's right. The ending works, I think. But it is, and thankfully, you know, what did they call it? Like, you know, people have cared for 3 years. Made me laugh. Like, they literally said we cared about this for 3 years. It's only because of getting it over and done fucking with, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's a I can't remember the guy's name. It's going to annoy me. There's a big comedian in the States. I think he's a Latino.
Jerry
comedian.
Seinfeld.
No. And he was asked. He's a big wrestling fan apparently. This guy, and he was asked, "Are you going to watch SummerSlam?" And the answer he gave was, "I'm not paying X amount of dollars to watch another Reigns-Lesnar match.
Okay.
I think you have to appreciate how strongly the feeling was. So that match was always going to be a hated, poor match. And I think that's why I really appreciated how they booked it. Because to me, they got the outcome they needed whilst also maintaining it. And then what they did on Raw the following night kind of pushed the envelope a bit further.
Go on, curious.
In a weirder way. No, I'll leave it until we've had the SummerSlam discussions. Then I'll give you a bit of a Raw SmackDown.
I think I don't have much more to say about it, so I'm happy for you to launch into it if you want to.
I have two more things.
Okay.
Adam, if you got your version from a live feed, did it not have the blanked out audio by any chance?
It did not, I don't think.
So when Brock screamed at Braun, do you know what he said? Because weirdly, someone had pressed the button, but he still said "bitch" on my one. So it was like it just went "bitch."
I think it was just a general. He did say something, and I'm sure I heard what he said, but it was another one of these kind of like that. You know, I'm the boss, bitch kind of comments. It was just a general Suplex City bitch type. I am the man comment.
That's why I wondered, because if the bitch made it through, if it is not silenced on your version, could you clip it for me and send it over?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Thank you very much. I would love to see that. And the other note I had was right at the end, they had this shot of Roman against the ropes, and he had the belt, and he looked heroic. And I was like, yeah, that's the shot they wanted. And then there was just a beach ball bouncing around behind him in the background in the crowd. And I was like, good for you beach ball people, because I know this whole beach ball mania thing has pissed a lot of people off. Was it Cesaro who ran into the crowd and grabbed one and ripped it to bits?
Yes. Yeah, but it was incredible how he did that.
It was incredible. And the camera just went with him because they didn't know what the hell was going on. But the crowds at these shows, these big, huge stadium shows where they get bored during some of these matches or they want to protest, someone will sneak in a beach ball, blow it up, and they'll just start bouncing it around. And,
I like that.
Yeah, and but a lot of people find it disrespectful to the guys in the ring or whatever. But the fact that beach ball was going behind Roman in that shot was just kind of like, well done, boys. Because security take them away; they're notorious for getting them quickly. Yeah, but that was bouncing around and made me laugh.
What made that even better was, I thought, how rapidly they finished the Reigns celebrations, because obviously they knew what the crowd reaction was going to be.
Yeah.
So I thought that felt really like do it done. So when you saw that behind him, it was kind of like you couldn't stop it. You tried, you couldn't stop
Especially
it.
in New York crowd, they're going to turn on him pretty quick.
I was surprised they didn't, and they didn't do the classic end of pay-per-view, or when Roman comes out as well, they do it, where it's almost like the crowd noise just immediately goes, and it just like, and it's gone. It's almost like there's no crowd anymore.
Oh, really? Production-wise, they do that.
They
I see.
turn the crowd down.
I thought for a second you meant the crowd coordinated, and they said it's like, as soon as his music hits, just shut up. And we hate him by being really quiet.
Maybe they do. But to me, it sounded like they turned the volume knob down. But maybe they're just like, everybody be quiet right now. But they didn't do that. I heard some cheers and some high-pitched... Hold
on. You went a bit gravelly for a second, and I can understand what you're saying. Kind of digital interference. Speak again. Yes. So, I think it might fix itself. Speak again. No, it's still broken. Something's broken on your answer.
No, it's just me making noises.
Oh, okay.
I'll get you, gadget.
Maybe it's mine because Adam's getting there as well. Okay. That could be.
Wait, are you ribbing us, or is this like legit? Because he just did a
legit.
Sweet.
No, legit. It's like a whenever I hear sound.
Oh, okay.
I just did Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget.
He really did. It was amazing. No, I don't think he can hear us properly. That's a shame. That was really good, Adam. That well done.
Yeah, thank you. I pride myself on a few of my vocal impersonations.
Nice. You do them well.
I can't.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I kind of partially got the gadget, but it was in the midst of kind of sound, so it sounded pretty good.
I hope that's on the recording. I'm leaving all this in because it'll make you look bad.
Okay.
I won't. I'll take it all. This thing's going to be long.
Let's probably wrap up.
Beach ball, Roman tries to sell it as important, which I thought worked, and the crowd didn't seem to disappear in terms of crowd noise. There seemed to be enough high-pitched kids and stuff in the crowd that they were like, yeah!
I
You know?
think kind of the "you both suck" thing was a nice way of looking at it, that I think there were enough people who were anti-Brock as well that they kind of weren't completely against Reigns, because they were both against both of them, kind of thing.
Rebellious workhorse.
Yeah, that's true.
You know? And some of them were probably expecting maybe something of a bounce back from no-sell Strowman, you know, still potentially thinking there was more in that. Which there wasn't.
No.
Right, so they get off the air quick because they've already gone 4 hours. What happens on Raw?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, I'll mention the Roman Reigns stuff first. So Finn Balor comes out doing his whole "I was the first Universal," and he gets given a title shot against Reigns.
Oh, Hell in a Cell?
No, on Raw.
Oh, shit.
On Monday night, yeah. Reigns has said he wants to be a fighting champion. So cut to Braun Strowman having a chat with Finn Balor saying, "Look, I like you, but as soon as your match finishes, I'm cashing in Money in the Bank on whoever's won."
Again, wait until the end. It doesn't feel, just because you say it in advance, doesn't feel like it's noble.
Exactly. So anyway, it comes to the match. They actually had a hell of a match, and they really played Balor up quite nicely. So Balor come very close, but Reigns beat him. Lo and behold, and Strowman starts making his way down the ring. He's about to put the hurt on Reigns, and the whole Sierra Hotel India Echo Lima Delta.
Oh shit!
And then Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose came out in the Shield kit, and then the three of them took Strowman apart and triple power bombed him through the announce table.
Wait, does that mean? Well, is that a heel? Was that played up as a heel turn, or was that just the Brotherhood's back together and we're going to do what's right for Roman?
Nobody knows. They kind of, it did feel a bit heel, but there's no way that they can be turning Rollins heel at the moment, you wouldn't have thought, and with Reigns having just won the title. But
right.
I think they just played it because they clearly wanted to do a lot more with the Shield when Reigns got sick and then Ambrose got injured.
Yeah, the idea of it's one of the few ways.
It was so far out of left field because Ambrose had a match with Ziggler earlier in the night.
Okay.
And then it just came out of nowhere. You thought Strowman was just going to come and that was going to be it. And then it was the Shield thing. They kicked off and that was it.
Smart. I like it. I mean, it's because the crowd loved the Shield. Everybody loves the Shield.
Yeah, it is.
So,
well, it was quite weird because about halfway through Raw, people were looking up at the corners. You know how they do when they think the Shield are going to come out.
Okay.
And you thought, what the hell is going on? Because Ambrose had not long wrestled. There was nothing going on. And then whether or not they were going to try and have Ambrose and Rollins come through, but too many people picked up on it, I don't know. But then they just came out the main entrance. But they had the kind of body armor stuff on. They came out to the music. But I don't think there weren't any other. Ronda Rousey came out and had the whole thing with Stephanie McMahon about "I'm not going to play by your rules." But other than that, I don't think there was any other real hangovers from SummerSlam. But SmackDown was absolutely barnstorming. They seemed to throw everything at it. I think because it was a new network channel, it was like the Jeff Hardy Randy Orton match was brilliant. It was like a no holds barred. They were both just leathering each other all over the shop, and then Hardy landed the senton from the top of the speaker stack. Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella thing happened right at the top of SmackDown, right on the show's opening.
Okay.
Brie Bella's music came on, and she came out, and then
Brie mode.
We agreed with Paige that Hell in a Cell we're going to take them on in a mixed match, couples match, and it was kind of like, oh.
Is it going to be in the cell, or is it just we're going to do this at the event?
I don't think if they said, then I didn't pick up anything on that. I think it's just a case of we're going to have the match at. And then AJ Styles was giving an interview apologising for losing control when Samoa Joe just cocaine clutched him out of nowhere. and then proceeded to grab the mic and go, Wendy,
Okay.
the camera again, which was great. Him just being his usual crazy self. But yeah, they just everything that they did. Becky Lynch. Fascinating thing about that on SmackDown is they were trying to turn her heel. She was clearly trying to turn heel, and the crowd were
Just
not
love her,
having
yeah.
because she came out and she was doing the whole thing about look, you guys didn't have my back. You were cheering Charlotte on, and she was directly trying to go with the crowd, and they were just cheering her. It just didn't. And then Charlotte Flair came out, and they had a brawl that took the whole women's roster to separate them, and then Charlotte did a swan suicide dive out of the top of the ropes, and they just ramped all that up again.
All right,
Cool.
It's interesting. The Becky thing's going to be interesting because they are sort of classically miscast in this, because Becky hasn't been a heel since NXT, I don't think, when her and Sasha were together, and Charlotte is better as a heel. So doing it the other way is going to be kind of interesting. But I'm sure Becky will revel in it if she can get the crowd against her, which is no mean feat given how much they love her.
Yeah, her spot was, I have to say, her spot was brilliant. She was doing a great job of it. She was really selling the whole I've earned this and you've denied me thing. She was doing it well. But then the interesting thing was the headline match was the New Day and the Bludgeon Brothers again, and the New Day won the titles off them.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, having had the result, and it was another Xavier Woods flying across with the elbow through a table.
Nice.
But apparently I read afterwards that apparently Eric Rowan quite badly hurt himself at some point during SummerSlam.
Oh, so maybe they needed to get him off him.
So I think that was a case of they had to get the titles to them so they could do what.
Yeah.
Are they keeping Carmella in the title picture on SmackDown? Probably not, yeah? It's just all going to be about Becky and Charlotte.
The whole thing, it was literally Becky doing her thing, then Charlotte coming out and being all like, was it worth it for this thing? And then the whole women's roster pulling the two of them apart. And that was the spot, really.
Right, because I wonder if they'll... Like, Carmella would probably due a rematch if they're going to pay attention to that sort of thing. But I assume the big match for the women's show, it's just called Evolution, isn't it? Women's Evolution?
Yeah.
Evolution. Will be Charlotte v Becky again. And some stipulation, and it will be a crazy brawl between the two best friends who are enemies now, blah. That'll be the top of the shop one for that. For SmackDown, at least. But yeah, okay. In any of the stuff on Raw, is there an obvious first challenger for Reigns?
I think they're going to stick with Strowman. I think it's going to be Strowman versus the Shield, and whether or not.
Okay.
I think that's how they're going to try and pitch it. Is who's him and his unstoppableness. I mean, Bobby Lashley was up against Baron Corbin, and again that whole inconsistency thing. They had a big old slobber knocker. They were giving as good as they were getting, but Lashley won in the end. But then again, Corbin's just been squashed by Finn Balor, and it's just all that inconsistency. But no, there was no one who stood head and shoulders. But that's why I made the comment about the Ambrose heel turn.
I was about to say, you've got no obvious top heel on Raw now, right? Because it's Brock, isn't it? Really? Not that he's there very often, but...
No, well, Elias.
Yeah, I suppose you've got Elias.
Elias is probably the big one at the moment. They've got this... I just can't get on board with them at all. These authors of pain from NXT.
Yeah, I'm aware of the two giant kind of decklines of Samoan
guys. And they've been fighting titles worldwide for what seems like a millennia.
Okay.
But they just, other than them generally stinking out the place, there doesn't seem to be anyone of that kind of nature. So they'll have the Shield thing for a while, then they'll have Ambrose be the one that turns this time. I don't know.
Yeah, it would make sense. is to switch abruptly again back to the women's thing. By the way, do you fancy doing one of these on Evolution? Because I'm up for that. If anyone else is,
Yeah, me too.
Is Asuka anywhere in the mix on SmackDown worth a damn that'll give her a spot in that show? Because she was the one where I was like, I wish she was on this. I mean, Sasha and Bayley, I assume, well, they put it off on Mania and they kind of put it off and they slow burning it. And I assume that'll happen at the Evolution show now, if anyone still gives a shit. And
well, no, because they've made up now.
Yeah, but then it's only to buy them another month so they can break them up and do the thing finally. You know, I think that'll happen at Evolution because I know and I've seen it sort of dribble along, you know, here and there and read about it. But I think they'll turn them again and finally do that match. But where's Asuka? Where is she? Come on, like.
No, well, I don't think she was on SmackDown at all. I know Naomi fought the Iconics, one of the Iconics. I don't think Asuka was on it at all. I think she wasn't on that edition. But to be fair, they have been playing her strong. She has been easily dispatching people,
Right.
but I wouldn't say she's directly in the frame. It'll probably be, I would imagine it'll be the fallout from Evolution, then she'll probably get involved.
Okay. Because I think it's such a shame that the way she didn't win the championship at Mania, and then what happened with Charlotte going away for a bit, and then Carmella beat her like twice or something. I think it's just it kind of destroyed something really great they had with her a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was okay with it depending on where it went, but then it went nowhere good because Charlotte had to go away and Carmella did the thing and blah blah blah. You know, I thought it was just a bit of a shame because they to cue Gerard in because he's they had an undefeated streak going from NXT onto the main roster with Asuka. That should have culminated in her beating Charlotte for the championship and sort of almost reigning supreme as the character they call the Empress of Tomorrow.
Okay.
And so it was Empress versus Queen at Mania, and because everyone Vince probably is so hot on Charlotte, they had her win, so it kind of destroyed this weird. It was almost like not having Becky win here, but without the swerve and where's it go next, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
So it was a bit of a shame.
So you're kind of hoping that they kind of rekindle that a little bit and.
Well, they can't rekindle what they had with the streak
they can't,
and
not
everything.
with the streak.
But
sure.
She should be in the mix. She's really great.
But they did. I mean, I know when we discussed Money in the Bank, and I got all angry about how much work they've done in the women's division and how well they've done with it. And then they had Ellsworth decide that first ever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Awful.
But then they redid the whole thing on SmackDown, didn't they? And I've noticed they've only used footage of the SmackDown one where Carmella got the briefcase down herself.
But it's also obviously when we were going to do Money in the Bank, I was going to be talking about exactly the same thing because they did it again. They had Ellsworth come out in an Oscar match and distract her for Carmella to win.
Yeah. I thought it was weird that they seemed to bring him back just for that again.
Yeah.
After wiping it.
Badly done as well. It was another one of those clumsy. I think Oscar had to be distracted like 3 times before she lost by the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was sloppy. In a way, I'm kind of glad we didn't talk about that pay-per-view because it was probably worse than this one in the end.
It was like the overall feeling on it. I have to say, SmackDown was actually my favourite. SummerSlam was my favourite pay-per-view for quite some time, I think. They just seemed to. I mentioned a couple of the matches that felt tight, like they'd actually worked to a time. And then you had the couple of squashes. It's the first one I haven't felt like it was a slog to get through.
I would agree in the middle. The tired bit last night was just a slog. Then those middle couple of hours I really enjoyed, and then the last hour-ish, like after Orton walked away, it was just like felt like stalling for forever for me, and I was just I didn't mind the ending, but I was happy to see it end.
Well, the way they ended that match, though, just to go back to something Adam said earlier on, it felt a little bit like they knew we're out of time, so let's we got to wrap up this match really quickly.
I think it was literally 4 hours and 1
match.
minute, so it could be they were supposed to go 4 hours, but on the network they don't seem to give any fucks. They just
that's true.
This match will continue.
Yes. Oh, like a clown car.
Yeah, Lincoln Clown Car. Yeah, Adam won't get those jokes. But it does feel like that. It's just because now, obviously, now Mania is 5 hours, and this was 4, and the regular shows are 3, or they'll go a little longer if they have to. Like these things are getting longer and longer. And I think, did this one have a 2-hour pre-show as well, Adam?
Yeah.
It's like 6 hours.
6 hours?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
6 hours total. Figure out.
Too much.
I was a little surprised when I started watching it, and I because last night I started watching it last night, and then I had to stop for a bit, and I was like,
was
2
it
hours
because you
and
were really
45
tired
minutes
from a
left.
Britney Spears concert?
That's exactly why. Yeah,
me too.
And I was like, wait, 2 hours and 45 minutes. I've definitely watched more than 15 minutes of this. I didn't realize it was 4 hours when I started watching. I thought it was 3, but I forget you mentioned now that. So is SmackDown 3 hours as well, or is it just Raw?
That's 2. I think Raw's it's only
SmackDown's
Raw
still
that's 3.
2. Okay. I don't know that when I was 17, I could 16, 17, I could watch 4 or 5 hours of this stuff straight. Even if it was Livewire followed by Metal followed by SmackDown on Sky One on a Saturday morning, I could watch hours and hours of this stuff. So, I don't know. Maybe they're just kind of going to the endurance of their audience who are into it the most, which I think is probably not us.
I suppose there is that. I think the generally people are finding it a slog to get through a lot of this stuff. So and it's not quite like, because I'm still watching a couple hours of 2001 every week, and I'm loving most of that. But the variety of that and the style of some of that versus what the last couple of Raws I have seen, patchily checked out here or there. Some of it is just like, why is this even here? There is so much of it that just feels like it's stalling or filler, or replays are the worst.
Constant replays.
Those were bad back then, but do you feel the same with that, Adam? Or did you watch the 3 hour version, or did you watch the shortened version?
No, I watched the shortened version.
Really? Okay, so that what's that, like 90 minutes to 2 hours?
Yeah, it's just under 2 normally. To be honest, watching the weeklies, I am quite skip happy with it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I probably watch 2 hours worth in an hour most of the time.
Yeah. Well, there is a lot you can go through, and the amount of shots of people walking backstage, and like if you really use 3 hours, you could do some amazing things. But it does feel like it's a lot of very, very slow. Let's get us to the next quarter hour kind of stuff when I've seen these, and I would love to watch more of it, but it would have to be on demand so I could skip. I don't think I could stand it live.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised that because I remember they did like a 3 hour Raw at one point, probably toward the tail end of when we were still watching, and at that time it kind of seemed like a special event, and I'm amazed that they've moved to 3 hours every week. To be honest with you, I can't imagine what that's like to sit through.
Yeah. Well, before we move to 3 hours every week, should we call it here?
I think so.
Because we're at 2:55, so...
Oh, really?
Which I'll try and chop down a bit. Hypocrites! Hypocrite cast. Anything else, Adam? Last thoughts?
No, thank you for having me, gentlemen.
It's nice to have you again. We'll see you in 2 months for Evolution if we can arrange it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for SummerSlam. Thank you, Adam, very much for joining us again. It's always a pleasure to have another guest on. But next time we'll be probably talking about something quite different, I'd imagine. But we do enjoy our occasional dips into the world of pro wrestling. It's something that both Mark and I have been fans of for many, many years. So you've got a couple in a row, actually, I think, given that we did the Momentary Classic recently as well. So, enjoy, and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers.
Follow us on Instagram, Instagamf,
and Pop and Bizzle and all the other ones.
Yeah, all those places. Search Gamf with T is silent.
Yeah, we're so easy to find with our weird brand. So,
Yes.
right.
All right.
Say goodbye, sir.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
I hear voices in my head. They are the voices in my head. They talk to me.